Sound check. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing, testing, testing 1, 2, 3.
I would like to call to order the special city council meeting. City Clerk Duarte, will you please take roll?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Frometa,
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez is excused. Mayor Pacheco,
Present.
okay. Oh, second page. Second page.
We will now reconvene. Oh, actually, we did not have a closed session meeting, so we will now adjourn the special city council meeting, and I would like to call to order the regular city council meeting. The time is now 6:37 p.m. And before we begin or proceed forward, I would like to have that sign in the front to please be removed and placed on whoever that sign belongs to on their lap, or we will physically remove it and destroy it. Thank you, Mr. Herman. City Clerk Duarte, can you take roll again?
Yes. Councilmember Frometa,
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez is excused. Mayor Pacheco,
Present. I would now like to invite up Dean Michael, President, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, from Downey.
Our Father in heaven, we gather here this evening in this city council meeting, and we thank thee for our many blessings. We thank thee for all of the goodness that thou dost show to us as thy children. We thank thee for our lives and for this land of freedom in which we live. We invite thy Spirit to be here in this meeting, and we ask for thy blessings upon those elected officials who represent this city and those who represent the governments throughout this state and this land, that they will be blessed with wisdom beyond their natural ability, that they will seek to serve the people, and that they will seek to promote freedom and faith and the fundamental unit of society and the family. We particularly acknowledge thy hand and thy goodness to us this week as we celebrate Passover, and as we remember on Easter the life, the atoning sacrifice, and the resurrection of thy Son, Jesus Christ. We pray for a blessing of peace and respect and harmony to be here and with us always. And we ask it in the name of thy Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I would now like to invite up Michael Calvert, Executive Director of the Downey Chamber of Commerce. And he will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'd ask you to stand, but you already are. Hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome everyone to our City Council meeting. Next on our agenda, we have City Council member announcements, requests for future agenda items, conference meeting reports, and we will start to my far left with Councilmember Trujillo.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, and for those of you listening at home, happy spring break. As most of us know, our school district is currently on spring break. I encourage our families to visit our beautiful parks. Thanks to you, the residents agreeing to tax yourselves. We have one of the most beautiful park systems in the surrounding cities. So I encourage you, as a former park commissioner myself, to take advantage and visit the parks. I had an opportunity to visit the park of Chapultepec in Mexico City this last week. And sometimes we forget how simple and what a great thing it can be to just spend some time at the park with your family with a simple picnic. So encouraging our families to do that. Just an update on our lighting plan. I'm hoping that we can roll out our surveys in neighborhoods to identify the locations in the city where lighting is most needed. And then we will follow the proper procedures and go to the residents to see what cost it would be to install lightings in locations throughout the city where we will find out they're most needed. We continue to focus on public safety and finding the best use of your tax money. Neighborhood Watch, if anyone's interested in starting a Neighborhood Watch program, we highly encourage you to organize, and we will help you in that. Our Neighborhood Watch coordinator is Stephanie Arroyo. Her phone number is 562-904-2347. It's available on our website. I know now with we're reading about an upsurge in the pandemic, so obviously we still need to follow protocols. But I really hope that our Neighborhood Watch programs get back in full swing and we start meeting in person again and starting new programs to increase, again, public safety in our neighborhoods. I had an opportunity to visit the Warren High School Barristers. It's a play on the name Barristers. There was about, 25 to 30 individuals, Aldo? 30 to 40 aspiring future lawyers, and it was our pleasure and honor to go out and talk to them and to make ourselves available, me personally, for anyone who's interested in becoming a future lawyer in Downey. As many of you may know, we have lots of lawyers here in Downey for some reason, and I would love to build a network of mentors, residents, to help our future generation. And congratulations to Warren High School, really impressive. I got to meet the principal. It's a beautiful campus. It was my first time being inside the campus of living here. After living here 31 years, I actually had an apartment on Gurley Avenue, which is right behind it, but it is a beautiful campus. So congratulations to the school district and Warren High School specifically. I apologize for not being present to attend FatherCon. I was looking forward to it, but made a commitment to my son to take him on spring break travel. So I look forward to participating in future FatherCons. Congratulations to the organizers of that event. I'm also bummed that I missed the Grease Sing-Along in our theater, our beautiful theater that I am hoping you will come and visit. We are making the theater open. It's your theater, the People's Theater, and I have here that the first open house is this Saturday. Does anyone have the time? Sorry.
12, 2, and 4.
Jason, can you tell us the opening of the theater, the dates and times it'll be available? Again, this is a free event. I encourage you to just stand on our beautiful stage and look out at the empty theater, and it's just impressive. But Jason?
Yes, the theater will be open on Saturday the 16th. There'll be tours at 12, 2, and 4. And then again on Tuesday night, the 19th, at 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, so please come out and visit your theater. And lastly, I have some ideas, but with everything that's going on with staffing shortages right now, I'm going to reserve those requests till a later time. Just ideas that I got from the municipal government of Zapopan and Guadalajara, who were very welcoming to us in our attempt to reestablish relationships with them. And I'll just give those to staff later. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Councilmember Fermetta.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to be back. welcome. I want to acknowledge each and every one of you, and certainly those of you that are watching us via Zoom. I want to give a warm welcome to a dear friend and someone that serves the community in the capacity of a school board member, Martha Sodotani. Welcome. Certainly, I want to welcome Michael Calvert, who did the Pledge of Allegiance for us. Thank you. And Commissioner Jeannie Wood. Thank you, Jeannie, for being here. Commissioner Dorothy Pemberton, thank you for joining us tonight as well. And I do want to say, as I always say, engaged communities are strong communities. So thank you for being engaged. And thank you for being awake, Downey. 60 years of stability. We need to be more awake now than ever with changes coming and with changes here. But I do want to let you know I had the privilege of attending City of STEM April 2nd, and I want to give a special recognition and really my thanks to Ben Dicko. Ben, would you stand, please? Yes, you need to stand. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. You may be seated. Ben is an invaluable member of the City of Downey staff. City of STEM is a recognized event, not just in the city and in the cities around us, but really in Southern California. I had the pleasure of welcoming and meeting Dr. Ellen Ochoa, who was the first Latina to go to space. And that was so significant. Thank you for joining us tonight and welcome. Thank you for joining the meeting tonight. We have members of our community entering our council chambers for those of you on YouTube and Zoom. So I want to make sure that they feel welcome. This event drew how many thousands of people, Ben? I know in the past we've had 15,000 or so. Right about that, yes. And again, this could not be possible without the support of many organizations. And we just want to thank financial partners and others for their continuous support. STEM, the area of science, technology, engineering, and math, is vital to our communities. And again, I had the pleasure of sitting with Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard and Cristina Garcia, Assemblywoman, Senator Archuleta, and others in welcoming the community. When parents can stay home and watch cartoons with their children, they were there Saturday morning early. And education is critical, and we live in environments that are pulling us in many directions. And being there and making sure that we are creating a generation of curious minds and helping them in the process of exploration is important to our community. And so I was very proud to be there in the City of STEM. So thank you, Ben. It was such an amazing event. And then I met a young lady and her family who drove all the way from San Diego to be here. And she is a STEM gal. She was dressed in a spacesuit with helmet and all. And I had the pleasure of bringing her to City Hall and giving her a tour. Yes, it was closed. Yes, it was a Saturday. But that is one of the things that, as a council member, I enjoy doing, in really inspiring our children to reach for what they want to do and what they want to be. So that was really great. I also want to, I had the pleasure of welcoming, believe it or not, an artist, a Latin American artist that came to our theater. And after a 2-year closure because of the pandemic, Latin Cuban American artist Willie Chirino came all the way from Miami, came to Downey to a sold out crowd Friday and Saturday. He's Latin Grammy recognized, has sold 20 albums, have reached gold and platinum. And this was the weekend of April 1st and 2nd was an important weekend for the City of Downey. From space exploration and STEM to the area of entertainment, a lot happened. And I was it was a privilege to be here in this community, to welcome them and make sure that our community felt that their council members were here representing them. I want to let you know, I want to congratulate to our Downey Police Department and our police chief, Leslie Murray, for their participation in the Baker to Vegas run. Thank you for continuing that involvement as well. I think the community appreciates that as well. And also the members of FatherCon. I too was not able to attend. I promised my daughter I would be with her during the state championship for the Downey High School dance team. And as parents, our children come first, and I think that is the biggest lesson, right? We can be involved in so many activities and as representatives of our communities, but first and foremost is the example that we give our children and making sure that they feel supported and appreciated. A couple of events that I want to call your attention to are the following. Saturday, April 16th, coming up as we are observing Holy Week, as well as Ramadan, for those of you that observe Ramadan. The Saturday, April 16th, from 9 to 1, there will be brunch with a bunny at Golden Park for the families that would like to take their children. Also on Saturday, as Councilmember Trujillo mentioned, April 16th, from noon to 3 at the Downey Theater, there will be an open house, followed by Tuesday, April 19th, from 5 to 8. One thing I would like to bring up as well is the Downey One Day of Service that our dear friend and former Mayor Rick Rodriguez began during his term. And I had the pleasure of continuing during my mayoral year last year. And now our dear Mayor Blanca Pacheco is continuing as well. That is happening next Saturday, April 23rd. Here outside the Civic Center, followed by the Arbor Day celebration. And last but not least, I would like to invite you all to my town hall. And actually, it is your town hall. It is scheduled for April 28th. It is a Thursday. It will be at 6 p.m., and it will be scheduled at the Columbia Memorial Space Center. We will have an opportunity to meet members of the community, and there will be staff on hand answering questions about some of the projects going on in our city. We realize there's some changes that are coming, but the work does not stop, and we will continue working on your behalf. I look forward to seeing you, and I would look forward to answering your questions. With that, Madam Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. And I also want to start off by saying welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at this evening's council meeting. It is a pleasure seeing you all. Pleasure seeing you all engaged in your community, which is very important. I always start off with recognizing people in the audience. I know our council member already mentioned a few of them, but I just wanted to give a special recognition to Jeannie Wood, who was sworn in as the inner guard for the Downey Elks Lodge. So I just want to say again, congratulations. Let's give her a round of applause. And like my council colleagues, it was a busy time for me this last couple of weeks. On March 24th, I had the pleasure of attending St. Pius Matthias Career Day and speaking to students about my pathway from high school to attorney to being here on city council. It's unfortunate that every time I go to talk to the students, I see less and less students wanting to be attorneys. But it's nice to see that they want to go into other different fields, from doctors to engineers to veterinarians. It's always exciting seeing what students want to do when they get older and talking to the students. So it was a pleasure attending St. Pius Matthias on March 24th. And then on March 30th, I was also invited to Columbus High School's Women Empowerment Program. And I also want to thank our Downey Police Department for attending the St. Pius Matthias Career Day. And I know our police chief also attended the Columbus High School Empowerment Program. So I just want to thank Downey PD for that as well. I unfortunately wasn't here April 1st or 2nd because I was over at Independent Cities for their annual conference. Some takeaways that I got from that conference is a nurse practitioner program that Beverly Hills Fire Department has. It was a rather interesting program that they have. Whenever there's a call, there's a determination as to whether a nurse practitioner should go out on that call. And also, the fire department utilizes nurse practitioners to do follow-up calls the next day. So it's a program, it's a new program that Beverly Hills Fire Department has implemented, and I want to see if maybe we can get some information about that. I don't know if we could do that here or if it makes sense here, but I thought it was a very innovative program to have a situation where Downey Fire can go out to a call. They can, instead of transporting the patient, they can try to take care of that patient on the moment, and that way they don't have to utilize our ambulances or fire department and waiting at the hospitals for that patient to be taken in. Also, there was this other really cool camera that I was told about. It's called Flash Cam. It's a camera that can be installed at different light poles, and they can be utilized where there's a situation where there's a high dumping, and it actually has a voice that will say, no dumping allowed here. I don't know if staff has heard anything about it, but I just got that idea, and I just wanted to see if maybe we could also look into that, especially on those locations where we have a high incident of illegal dumping. I think that may be something that we could utilize here in the city of Downey. Also, on April 5th, I attended the Paramount City Council reorganization. For me, it's important to go out to other cities and engage with other elected officials because what happens in Downey doesn't just stay in Downey. Sometimes travels outside of our city, and sometimes what happens outside of our city travels to our city. So it's always important for me to engage with other elected officials to see best practices as to what they're doing, so that way I can also bring that back to our city. And I did have the pleasure of attending a FatherCon at Warren High School. FatherCon is it's a workshop that is it's there to tell the importance of fatherhood, to prevent human trafficking. There was a lot of different booths there. A lot of information was provided. There were workshops, and so it was a really informative day over at Warren High School this past Saturday. And then on Saturday, I also attended the reopening of State Gallery. So if you haven't had an opportunity, please visit the State Gallery. It's located off of Downey Avenue. It's your art gallery. There's going to be a lot of fun activities coming up, from paint night with the kids to a lot of different activities that you can take the family to. And again, it's your gallery, so please go visit. And a lot of the upcoming events, they've already been told to you about what's going on in the city. But we also have a shredding and mulch event this Saturday at 8 a.m. here outside of City Hall. And then we have a grand opening of the Veterans Center at the Downey Library. That will be on April 18th at, 10 a.m. And then we have on April 19th, we have the Downey Police and Fire Luncheon over at the Rio Hondo Event Center at 11:30 a.m. And I think I covered everything. So again, thank you all for joining us this evening. I am now going to continue with presentations. We have quite a number of presentations. So I will go ahead and proceed down. Hello? Okay, for our first recognition, we will be providing a certificate of recognition of employee with 8 years of service, Aldo Schindler. And to do this presentation, I would like to invite up our city manager, Gilbert Livas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to recognize today and special recognition to Aldo Schindler. Aldo, why don't you come on up? Let's give him a round of applause. Yeah. So, Aldo has been with the city for 8 years. During that time, he has led the community development department masterfully during that time period. I will tell you, it's one of the departments that has the most interaction with the public, and things don't always, in terms of, it's a regulatory department, so things don't always go as smoothly as people would like them to go, but I will tell you this, in each and every condition, people are treated with respect, dignity, and every interaction that they encounter with the city. Now, when you have a regulatory agency such as a planning department, you're looking at people's buildings, you're doing inspections, you're also doing community development, you're doing economic development. Some projects people agree with, some people don't. But at the end of the day, I think the overall product that Aldo has been able to achieve over these 8 years is nothing short of phenomenal. He has worked on the promenade down on Lakewood. He has worked on the affordable housing project at the View. He has worked on getting downtown revitalized as well. He is currently working on housing development next to Hollydale down in that area. So really trying to do a lot of things. During the pandemic, you know, quite frankly, that was a very difficult time for a lot of our local businesses. Help local businesses get back on their feet with grants that we provided to local businesses, help them with outdoor dining. Also renters, being able to get them assistance at a time when they needed it. So all of those things were things that Aldo really spearheaded through this process. We're really fortunate to have had him this time. In fact, tonight's meeting, there is an inclusionary housing, affordable housing measure tonight on the agenda as well that he's been spearheading and working on. So we're going to miss him. He's done a fantastic job for the city. He's going on to greener pastures. We're going to certainly miss him. And I certainly, on a personal level, as a friend and as a coworker, I'm going to dearly miss him. And so, Aldo, we wish you all the best on your new ventures. We won't say goodbye because we will always see each other. And certainly, as we cycle through the ins and outs of intergovernmental agencies, we'll touch base again. So please join me in saying goodbye to Aldo. So, Aldo.
Thanks, Gil, City Manager. And, you know, the thoughts in my mind are just racing, but it's all of gratitude. I want to thank the mayor and the city manager and the council for allowing me to serve the community for these 8 years. They've been very supportive on all the things that we've pitched them. They've been very supportive of us also moving their vision through the community. You know, we always hope that we can move it at a faster pace, and they've also been patient and gracious from that perspective as well. I want to give thanks to Gilbert, city manager, to giving me the chance to serve Downey when he hired me, and also being my mentor and very supportive on everything that I've worked on. We have a great executive team. I want to thank everybody on both sides of the dais. We've always worked in unison. Nobody ever says no. You call the fire department, police department, or public works in terms of a project to assist a resident, and it's always how can I help? How can we get individuals out there? And also, most importantly, is my staff. My executive secretary, Kim Sudetani, is here tonight, and you know, I always say she's the backbone of the department because she keeps us all in line. My supervisors and managers are here tonight as well from our various departments, as are our planning staff, and they're the rubber that meets the road. They're the ones that are picking up the calls on a daily basis. They're the ones that are serving our residents and our businesses on a daily basis, and they're the ones that are moving plans through so that we could help achieve the vision of our mayor, city council, and our city manager. And with that, as a public service, I'm very, very how should I say, I have a lot of gratitude for this job, the next one, and the career that I've had in public service. I looked, for an opportunity in public service. It's not something I fell into. So I hope, once again, to continue my career in public service and continue to serve our community. So thank you, Downey. Thank you, Gil. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
So I just also want to add upon Aldo and all of his accomplishments here in the city of Downey. He's done a fabulous job, and he's done a lot here in the city of Downey. I've known him since before I even got on city council, and so it's been truly a pleasure being able to work with him, especially during our tough year in the pandemic, where he just really stepped up and he did a lot for the community. He helped so much, and so I am also sad to see you go, and I know we're going to keep in touch throughout the years. It's always really hard and sad to say goodbye, but I know we're not going to say goodbye forever, because I know we'll keep in touch. And just know that the residents of Downey really appreciate all the hard work you've done. They see it, staff sees it, and just know that everybody really appreciates it, and I appreciate it. So I have here before me a certificate of recognition on behalf of the citizens of Downey in recognition of your 8 years of service to the community of Downey in the Community Development Department, given this 12th day of April 2022. Thank you. Next up, we have Autism Awareness Month. And I have with me here today Emilio Sosa of the ARC, who will be assisting. But autism is something that is recognized every April. We celebrate World Autism Month, beginning with the United Nations sanctioned World Autism Awareness Day on April 2nd. So if I could please have Emilio come up and join me, tell us a little bit of what he does over at the ARC, and then I can present him with the proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor Pacheco and City Council. My name is Emilio Sosa. I'm the new CEO for the ARC of Los Angeles and Orange counties. And the ARC works with individuals with physical and mental disabilities. We're here to provide programs and support to the community of mental and physical disabilities. And we're here on call with the city to provide any additional support or programs that the city may need in order for us to continue to provide these programs. So on behalf of the ARC of Los Angeles and Orange County program participants, our staff and our leadership, I want to thank you for this proclamation and bringing awareness to the work that we do. That's really important for us to continue to provide these programs for the community with individuals with physical and mental disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas on Autism Awareness Month, we celebrate the countless ways that people with autism contribute to our families and our community, and we shine a light on the systemic barriers people with autism face in their daily lives. And whereas more than 2% of American adults and 1 in every 54 of our children have autism, a community of millions who deserve a life full lives of dignity and respect. And whereas individuals with autism, their families, caregivers, and advocacy organizations are striving to bring about positive changes and awareness. And whereas we honor those with autism and recommit ourselves to providing them and their families with the investment, support, and care they need to live independently, fully participate in their communities, and live fulfilling lives of dignity and opportunity. Now, therefore, I, Blanca Pacheco, Mayor of the City of Downey, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2022 as Autism Awareness Month. I call upon all residents to learn more about autism, to improve early diagnosis, to learn more about the experiences of autistic people and to build more welcoming and inclusive communities to support people with autism. So thank you very much for being here. Oh, picture? We have a couple more pictures if you guys want to stay down. Yeah, good exercise. Next up, we have Child Abuse Prevention Month. I don't see former Mayor Rick Rodriguez here. Is Jennifer Lopez. And come on up. And Yolanda's not here. Oh, okay. And then we have Sarah, Celis, and Karina. And then I also have Georgine. Or is anybody else here for Child Abuse Prevention Month? Yes. Oh, Martha, and Martha Sadatani, school board member. So I have here a proclamation for National Child Abuse Prevention Month. April has also been designated as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the United States since 1983, and it's dedicated to raising awareness and preventing child abuse. So who would like to speak about?
I can speak.
You can speak.
Thank you, Mayor Pacheco and the whole City Council. We really appreciate this. My name is Jennifer Lopez. I'm a regional administrator for County of Los Angeles. So I speak on behalf of all 9,000 plus of our employees for child abuse awareness. I do want to give a shout out to my staff that are essential workers. DCFS workers never stopped working during this pandemic. A lot of people thought, well, what happened? Our hotline calls, we were open 24/7. I'm proud to say that I am the manager over all of the city of Downey, and I just cannot say enough good things about this city. And anything we need for our families, they're the first ones we can call. They have a great police department, and I just couldn't be prouder to say that I represent DCFS, LA County DCFS, which is the largest child welfare agency in the United States. And we do our best to protect kids. So a shout out to my staff for being essential workers and all of the folks that do things for children. They're our most vulnerable, and I want to thank the city and all you guys for the recognition. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing all that you do to keep our children safe. I know it's been tough, especially during the pandemic, where we didn't see a lot of people reporting child abuse cases. So I really appreciate all that you do, and we recognize your efforts here today during the month of April. So I have here a proclamation which states, whereas every child is entitled to love, care, security, and protection from abuse, exploitation, and neglect. And whereas child abuse affects millions of children nationwide and thousands at home, making it one of our society's most serious public health issues. And whereas often the devastating effects of emotional, physical, sexual, and verbal abuse go beyond the immediate trauma and last well into adulthood. And whereas child abuse and neglect can be prevented by supporting and strengthening families, making meaningful connections and partnerships between schools, professional health services, community and faith-based organizations, businesses, and law enforcement. And whereas by working together, we can stem the tide of abuse in our city, strengthening our families and ensure that our children enjoy brighter futures and grow to their full potential as healthy and productive citizens. Now therefore, I, Blanca Pacheco, Mayor of the City of Downey, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and encourage all residents to help embrace and nurture our children. Thank you. Martha, would you like to say anything?
No, I think that
Okay.
Jennifer said
Okay.
said it all.
All right. Thank you so much. Good to be here. So- Just two more presentations. Next up, we have Arbor Day. Arbor Day, much like Earth Day, is celebrated on the last Friday in April, April 29th. Arbor Day is a holiday that celebrates nature. Its purpose is to encourage people to plant trees, and many communities traditionally take the opportunity to organize tree planting and litter collecting events on or around the holiday. The simple act of planting a tree represents a belief that the tree will grow to provide us with clean air and water, cooling shade, habitat for wildlife, healthier communities, and endless natural beauty for all of us for a better tomorrow. So for this one, I will call upon Delfino Consunji to assist.
Thank you, Mayor Pacheco and the City Council for this proclamation, and also for your continued support this past few years. As you may recall, the City Council adopted the city's first Urban Forest Management Plan, or UFMP, back in March of last year. The UFMP provides the vision, goals, and strategies in order for the city to grow and maintain a sustainable urban forest. One of the goals of the UFMP is to increase the city's tree canopy from 11% to 20% by year 2060. That's roughly doubling our planting efforts for the next 40 years. In line with this goal, over the last 3 years, the city has planted more than 3,500 trees citywide. In addition, as part of this year's Arbor Day celebration on April 23rd, from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., we will be giving away 300 fruit trees to Downey residents. This will be a drive-through event here at the Civic Center, and we hope that this will be an annual event. We will also have a tree planting event at 10 o'clock that same day. Lastly, I'm proud to announce that Downey is once again recognized as Tree City USA for the 16th consecutive year. That's an amazing accomplishment and a testament to Council's direction and support these past 16 years. So once again, thank you very much, Mayor Pacheco and City Council, for your support.
So I have here with me a proclamation, but I'm sure all of you are probably pretty tired of me saying the whereas. But please join us on April 23rd for Arbor Day in celebration. So we can you can also get some trees. Please, we need to plant more trees. So I have a proclamation that is signed by me, Downey Mayor Blanca Pacheco.
Thank you.
Thank you. And And last but not least, we have a proclamation in honor of Fair Housing Month. This year marks the 54th anniversary of the Federal Fair Housing Act. the original legislation targeting the elimination of housing discrimination in America. The promise made to us by the nation's fair housing law is that all people be treated equally in connection with sale or rental of housing. The Fair Housing Foundation, a regional nonprofit organization Downey has a strong partnership with, is an agency dedicated to promoting the enforcement of fair housing laws and encouraging an atmosphere of open housing through education, counseling services, and outreach programs. Since the adoption of the fair housing legislation in April 1968, April has been designated Fair Housing Month. And each year, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD, and the Fair Housing Foundation organize events and activities during this month to focus attention on the issue of equal opportunity in housing. In recognition of April being Fair Housing Month, we ask that Downey residents today and always support efforts to put into practice the principles of freedom, justice, and equality upon which this great nation was founded. Martha Torres with the Fair Housing Foundation is here this evening to accept this proclamation, recognizing April as Fair Housing Month.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much, Mayor Pacheco and City Council. My name is Martha Torres. I am the Community Engagement Liaison with the Fair Housing Foundation. We do contract with the City of Downey to provide free fair housing services. That includes counseling on landlord-tenant issues, especially right now during this pandemic. We've had questions in regards to rent increases, eviction moratoriums, illegal lockouts. So we counsel them free of cost on what their rights and responsibilities are. We also have a really strong fair housing department where we open up and investigate cases of housing discrimination. We go through the investigative process and assist clients with the resolution of those complaints completely free of cost. We offer a hybrid model right now of educational workshops via Zoom every Tuesday or here at the library. The city's always been very accommodating in allowing us that space to be able to come here to the city and provide such wonderful educational workshops. April is Fair Housing Month. I invite you all to join us on April 25th. We will be hosting our Fair Housing celebration via Zoom. So please go onto our website, fhfca.org, sign up so that you can be a part of such a wonderful celebration that will include a poster contest open to the youth in our entire service area. Thank you so much.
And I have here in front of me another proclamation recognizing Fair Housing Month, also with another list of whereases. So this will be provided to you, signed by Blanca Pacheco, Mayor of Downey. Thank you. That concludes the presentations. Thank you all. Next up on our agenda is public comment. This is the public comment period for agenda, consent calendar, and non-agenda items. I will be now taking public comment. Before we begin the public comment period, I would like to remind members of the public that the city's meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that disrupts disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Copies of the meeting rules are located in the back of the chambers. The City Council acknowledges the right of the public to address issues that are within the city's jurisdiction and invites the public to do so during the City Council meeting. However, this right must be balanced with the need of the City Council to conduct the public business in a fair and efficient manner, free from disruption or disturbance. Members of the audience who wish to address the City Council during public comment are reminded that the city's meeting rules prohibit yelling, whistling, booing, screaming, and any other outbursts that disrupts or disturbs the meeting. Any conduct that interferes with or disrupts persons who are addressing the City Council. Any conduct that interferes with or disrupts council members while they are speaking, and any other conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Unless modified by the mayor, each speaker shall have 4 minutes to address the council regarding agenda, non-agenda, and consent calendar items. Pursuant to the Downey Municipal Code, the public comment period is limited to 30 minutes. I remind speakers that your comments be addressed to me and not to any other council or staff member. Language interpreter is available in person for those members of the public needing interpretation. City Clerk Duarte, have we received any written correspondence to be incorporated into the record?
Yes, Mayor, we have. The first correspondence is from Maxine Wenzel. I live in District 2, and I've been a Downey citizen since 1969. I'm sorry, Mayor, this is from Janice Scott. I live in District 2, and I've been a Downey citizen since 1969. I've become disgusted about what's going on with the current council. This is the first time since moving here I'm embarrassed by the City Council and the council members that put their own agendas before the Downey citizens. Shame on you. It is not in our best interest to leave District 2 seat open or get just anyone in it. You should consider Mario Guerra an experienced and knowledgeable leader. We need someone who will look out for our best interest. After Blanca voted for Councilmember Alvarez for Mayor Pro Tem, citizens lost faith in her leadership and what's good for all Downey citizens. Next correspondence is from Guillermo Tejada. Downey representatives, you have voted to approve the opening of Bar Ojos Locos Cantina. This type of business degrades the standing of all women, where women become an object. We have enough in our lives where women have to fight the patriarchal forms of our society. This type of business stereotypes the macho culture of our society. I have lived in Downey for 40 years and I have seen the changes. Firestone Boulevard, Florence Avenue, Lakewood Boulevard, and Paramount Boulevard are full of businesses where the traffic is unbearable and dangerous. We compare the development of a city by the support we give to our children's education. I have to ask, why didn't you expand and build a second floor to our city library during the pandemic? We have enough of your careless votes and decisions in our city. Stop the construction of this bar. Next, we have correspondence from Francisco Morales. Ojos Locos is an adult bar business, and I do not agree with an establishment of this type being allowed in the city. It makes much less sense than it would be allowed to have such a close proximity to a school. Next, we have an email from Brittany Gonzalez. I think the new addition of the Ojos Locos restaurant could bring in a younger generation of people that will help keep Downey growing. The city of Downey has had no issues with any other restaurants for the past years. As the promenade is growing, it is time a fun sports bar came into the area. And the last email you received from Michelle Andrews. Please strongly consider appointing someone to fill this seat with a qualified person who has had experience in city politics and has already proven himself honorable, respectful, ethical, and professional. Mr. Mario Guerra is the only applicant that is qualified for this. This council needs balance and direction. As it seems, the swing vote lies in the hands of Madam Mayor, and that she has given up on little old Downey and has her eyes on moving on away from Downey politics. Please prove us wrong and that Downey still matters to her and do the right thing.
Thank you. Now, members of the public wishing to address the city council may come forward and form a line, which you've already done so. Mr. Herman, please be mindful of your audience and please be careful with the language that you use. If you are a disruption again to this in this council meeting, we will again escort you. We will warn you 3 times, but please be mindful of your audience. You may proceed.
So, now that we know that words punish people, threats by politicians threaten people. Now, is my 4 minutes a part of the public ordinance on item 1 under presentations, along with my non-agenda public comment and my 12 items of consent, along with my 1 administration? Item 13, can you answer that for me, Ms. Attorney, for the record?
Mr. Herman, this is public comment, not public question.
So
Please
this
proceed.
is non-agenda, right?
Please, if you review the agenda, the instructions are right there. Please proceed. Your time is still ticking.
So, Darky here wants to talk about mythology, structure, and legislation. However, as you already know, my public comment is an absolute suppression of my First Amendment, where I don't have a right to say what I really feel passionate to say because I'm being discriminated by the city of Downey and racial profiled by these members who sit there and delegate what you can and cannot say. So that makes you, the public, ignorant. Substantially ignorant. But we already know our mayor is ignorant, for she proceeds to censor and monitor my free speech. Is this the assemblywoman you want in this state of California? Is this the type of person you want in America? No. So again, if I can't say what I feel, if I can't predict that I might read Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, page 212, where he uses an acronym MF, Mommy Pacheco. Would you like to deliberate on MF? Or what about the N-word in the book of Huckleberry Finn? You reckon you know the language? You reckon you know me? You reckon you know everybody in here because of the color of my skin? Black and beautiful? You reckon? You don't know, lady. That's why you go against the First Amendment. You are a hater of our Bill of Rights and our constitutional free speech. And you want to be the assembly? You want to go before the capital of that moron, Mr. Gavin Newsom, who subjected us to 3 years of COVID and a surge in which I have been going through mental health issues wearing this mask. A mask. This is what you wear.
Mr. Herman, please turn around.
Pardon me?
Direct your comments towards me.
Yeah, I'm a darky. And I would like to say what Limp Bizkit would say, but you prevent me from doing so. You don't like 42 U.S.C. 1983. You deprive me of 18 U.S.C. section 242 and 245 because you're a racist. A fucking racist. And that's the reason why I'm being deprived of my First Amendment right to read what I wrote in that fucking library across the street from the parking lot, and you're depriving me of that. But I'm gonna submit this to the record, all 18 pages, because the day I come back, I will say what's on my mind. Fuck Roy Allard. Fuck the city attorney. Fuck the DA. Fuck everything in life. Life is fucked up. And thank you, Limp Bizkit, for this fucked up song.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Please have a seat. Okay, next up.
You wipe it down or no? Mike Greenspan, Bruin butt kicking Florida Gator. Oh, Fair Housing Month. Isn't it unfair you aren't doing the inclusionary housing issue on the agenda tonight? Arbor Day. Oh, yes. Let's talk about planting trees and all that other shit, and now throw away those plastic water bottles, send them on the express to the landfill. Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we still have Catholic schools to go fuck our underage children. Isn't that wonderful? Now, what else did I... Oh, lunch with the bunny on Passover. That's funny. Jesus and his disciples had a Last Supper, but not lunch with the bunny. I guess these card-carrying, retail-paying, low SAT scoring, mayonnaise-eating, blue-collar goyim. I guess that's the reason they don't use the SAT scores anymore in college, because they aren't too bright. Now, a few other things I'd like to mention about Downey. After all, I live 5.4 miles from the Bob Archuleta sign. Which sign was that? I live closer than anybody in Downey. The one in Burbank. You know, the guy I hear is called Fred Flintstone. Yabba dabba doo! I got a district I can run in, and I don't have to live there. I'm Barb Archuleta, running in the 5th district. Of course, he lives in the 4th district. Well, maybe I should say he's not Fred Flintstone. He's more like Wilma. Why would I say that? Because Archuleta's a pussy. He's afraid to run against...
Mr. Greenspan.
Cunt Han. Well, I want the home audience. I don't like to exclude them. You like to exclude people, but I don't. I include people. That's the difference between us. After all, we're not all highfalutin lawyers driving red Lexuses getting our work from the Olmo firm, that scab lawyer firm. What's that guy's name? It's Roy Ballard's stepson. Anyway, now, a couple other, so maybe if he had the balls, he'd run for office against Cunt Han. But I guess Archuleta just does not have any balls. Yabba dabba doo. Let's find a district to run. You know, hey, so we don't live there. Oh, we can put on those false, phony Christian fronts and perjury. Why, that's okay. Jesus died on the cross, so I can go out and perjure myself, thinks Bob Archuleta or everybody else in public office. After all, what's the shtick? All their sins, past, present, and future. So let's have a sin-a-thon. Who knows who we could fuck over? Now, somebody's been bearing false witness against me. The person claimed I said something that I did not say. And the person confronted me at the Veterans Day event. I did not say what somebody said I said. Yes, I mentioned Lisa, who mentioned the library and called it a dead horse. Of course, that person that talked about building a second floor on the library, maybe they ought to complete it on time. That'd be a lot better. But after all, I hate to make a liar out of somebody. Cunt Lisa, this is for you, bearing false witness against me. Now I'm actually doing what you said back in October or in November that I said, and I didn't. And take those few seconds back.
Thank you. And again, I apologize for these two individuals. They're very profane, but they have First Amendment rights. So I apologize to everybody for having to endure their language. Please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Marcella Barba Olmos. I'm one of the grassroots organizers of the group Downey United Against Ojos Locos. And my statement is, Mayor Pacheco, council, and residents, my family and I have loved this city, this community for the past 13 years that we've lived here and been raising our kids. It's been mostly an example of all of the positives that a community aspires to, especially for minority groups. But we don't like the direction that this council and the city is heading. The writing is on the wall. The writing on the wall is very clear, and it's corruption. Our city hasn't been a haven for any adult businesses up to now, so why Ojos Locos now? I believe at least part of it is that they thought that we as a Latino majority community would be complacent and simply not speak out. Now, beyond the various criminal activities that have been mentioned previously at prior council meetings about Ojos Locos sites, the murders, violence, drug deals, sexual harassment, and so on, we've discovered even more. Hiring of underage girls. Lost my spot. Hiring of underage girls as their chicas, and I will submit the job description for the public record. A pedophile who met up with an underage girl, and a teen prostitution ring. I'll submit those articles to you for public record. Do you see a pattern? This is absolutely not acceptable near any school or anywhere else in our community. This business simultaneously claims to be a sports cantina, sports bar, but doesn't even want to follow the rules of a bar with no minors allowed to enter. City Council can and must do more to stop this from moving in so close to our high schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carol Daly. I just kind of wanted to say that I'm very disappointed with the city allowing this cantina to come in. I mean, it's National Child Abuse Week, a month, and we want to abuse our children. To allow underage 16-year-old girls to work in a bar, they're going to be ogled, touched, possibly attacked, to have young boys coming into this situation. This is not acceptable. This is not family-oriented. Downey was always a very family-oriented city, and it's not. I'm now hearing rumors of cannabis distilleries coming in. I'm hearing that there's a seat open, that the guy used to work for Hustler magazine. This is not what Downey is about. This is not what we need in our city. I'm very disappointed. I'm coming here on 3 hours of sleep and I have to go to work, but it was that important for me to come in here and talk to you because I think we need to go in a different direction. We need to change the focus of the city. We need to go back to family orientation. We need to go back to where our children are safe on the streets, and I don't see that. On another topic, completely different, our dogs have outgrown the dog park. There's not enough room for the large dogs. They're jumping over the fence into the small dog area. We need a bigger park. We need higher fences. We need a safety. We have a lot of people coming to the park. We fought really hard to get it, but now it's not safe. And so I'd like to have that. Also, if we're going to build a second story on the library possibly, let's build a second story on Siaka so we're not putting down dogs and cats constantly. We have a reputation of being the highest kill shelter in the state of California. I don't know if that's true, but I hear it when I go to rescue activities. We do not have a good reputation for our kids or our animals. And those are the voiceless that I'm hoping to speak out for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Levis and staff, good evening. I agree with an earlier comment that one of the council members said that things have changed in Downey. Prior to the recent election, city election, the city, under the leadership of the current city manager and the various councils, provided stability to the city of Downey. Now with the recent election, that has changed. from stability, in my opinion, to uncertainty. And that is primarily because of the result of the two newest council members who, in conjunction with a council member that recently resigned, decided to oust or to remove the current city manager. Why? That answer, has not been forthcoming until the council, and especially those members who voted to oust the current city manager, come up with an explanation of why they voted to oust the city manager. There will always be a cloud on this council that I'm looking at right now, and especially the two newest council members who voted to remove the city manager. Many people want to know why. I'm sure most of the people, the city leadership in this room here, want to know why. The city employees want to know why. And certainly the citizens of Downey want to know why. Again, with no answer forthcoming. There will always be a cloud on whatever you do. There will always be suspicion. What is going on in Downey right now? That will never go away, never. One positive thing about all this is that it has allowed people that are concerned with the city of Downey to be more concerned with what the council is doing and to be more alert and cognizant of what the the council does and what it's up to. The great Greek philosopher Plato once said that those who show no interest in the affairs of the government are doomed to be ruled by fools. I believe those people that care about the city of Downey will fight to avoid that from happening. On another topic, I wish Mr. Schindler the very, very best in what he's doing. Bye-bye. And this ends my comments. I yield my remaining time back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Lacy.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
I believe I speak for a large portion of the citizens of Downey in saying that we seek to beautify and not degrade our jewel of a city. Many citizens volunteer. We gather together. We seek learning. We celebrate worthy causes as displayed here. We work hard, and we do so with pride because we live in Downey. Any talk of ojos locos dressing food servers modestly so as to appease us is an obvious counterfeit and will last only until money-hungry wolves see the slightest vulnerability in the system and begin turning the dial slowly towards sexploitation to maximize profit. So I ask, do any of the members of this council have daughters or granddaughters they would invite to fill out that first Ojos Locos job application?
Please let him speak, and you can applaud after. I want him to have his time.
Thank you. Please don't give my daughter and the daughters of Downey the chance to see us falter in valuing who they are. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
So I had a lot to cover, so I'm going to try to be brief. Public hearings. We didn't get to comment on that. I want to make sure that you guys cover that tonight. Don't forget about it, or we will file a violation. Moving on. Why is Gilbert Livas almost got fired? Why did he almost get fired? That's a question that Republicans, Democrats, and progressives are asking. There's no answer. And by the way, don't expect one. They're not going to give you one. Not only did Gilbert leave us not do anything good during the pandemic, which we saw the highest death mortalities in the entire LA County area, he didn't even hold his own assistant manager accountable, Mr. John Askewy, who is now out on what? On leave. You're gonna tell us for why? You probably won't. John Askewy not only has made sexual harassment comments against other elected members who serve in other agencies representing our people here in Downey, but he has made assaults and attacks and comments about our own children, calling our children of Downey here fat. Jennifer Lopez, you are here to do work for our children. Help me hold Mr. Askew accountable. Why does a government elected official who has a stipend of $300,000 salary get to talk bad about our children and keep his job? Why does the city manager get to protect his employees and not report why he is almost getting fired? And why do we have to have the Republican Party come over here and make sure that he gets a check as he walks out the door when his ass should be fired? Why? The mayor opened up with apologies. Apologies for the two speakers. Apologies because they have the First Amendment. Isn't that interesting? They're apologizing because you're protected by the Constitution. How does that sound, police chief, when our own elected members don't give a crap about
Mr. Martinez,
our rights
direct
or
your comments
about
to
our
me.
Constitution? How does that sound or feel to see our elected representatives who are criminals continue to attack, defame, and mitigate our First Amendment rights? I'm going to keep coming back to make sure that everyone knows what kind of criminals, corrupt elected officials you are, to make sure that you're all removed from seat. And the last thing I want to say is, Ojos Locos is a lie. They're not going to help you. When Jenny, or I'm sorry if I get your name wrong, when they asked the 4th District representative, what do I need to do next? All she said was, get loud. She didn't tell you whose names or whose doors you need to knock. They didn't tell you that they're responsible for all the appointed members who made that contract pass through our government. They're the ones, those are their commissioners who approved it, right? Tell them. Fucking cowards.
You may proceed.
Lee Squire, Vietnam era veteran, civil rights advocate. I'm also an advocate for special education children. And first of all, I want to thank you for the Proclamation on Autism. I've advocated for their civil rights in your school districts, and only a parent knows what an autistic child does to the family. Second, I'm a Vietnam era veteran, and I want to thank this city council and all staff for the placement of a wreath at our Vietnam War Memorial that was there on March the 29th, which is National Vietnam War Memorial Day every year. We lost 24 men of Downey to the Vietnam War, 23 in that war memorial. You have a 24th one. He has a plaque at Dennis the Menace Park. Finally, I also want to make a statement that if true that the planning commissioner appointee is somehow connected to Hustler magazine of the porn industry, I am District 3. I absolutely oppose that appointment. Finally, I have a question about item, I believe it's 13, when you asked about background checks on the candidates. I've been in city government for 37 years, and I just found out that upon the oath of office, our city council members are not required to have basically a fingerprint, being checked for fingerprint background. You, the city council, your number one duty is that of fiscal stewardship. So I find, and I would like to recommend, that upon your oath of office, there's two types of individuals. You, the city council, should be fingerprinted, and so should your planning commissioners when they affect values, and they're a regulatory body subject to an appeal. Thank you.
Good evening.
Obviously, people are not happy with the way this city is being run. I'm not happy, probably being the only conservative in this room tonight. I stand up and oppose the nudie bar taking the place of Denny's restaurant down there and all the crap that goes with an establishment like that. I am on record for that. I would like to point out also that it's all of you folks up there, not the unelected bureaucrats, but the elected officials, have your people on the commission that approved the nudie bar. Your people that you appointed approved it, except one. And now that person is trying to grandstand as if he represents a district that is opposed to such activity. Don't be naive. Don't be naive. These are extremist Democrats on this council, including the unelected bureaucrats. They are extremists, and you can tell by the way they vote. They don't care about morality or women's rights or girls being exploited. If they did, there's a very simple other test. They can't just come in here and grandstand. If you wanted to protect girls, then protect us from illegal aliens smuggling girls across the border to here to sell them into slavery and sex slavery. But you won't hear that from these extremist Democrats. They have made this city a sanctuary city. Our police force won't even hold a suspected illegal alien on a retainer until ICE comes to pick them up. They refuse to do it anymore. We are a sanctuary city for illegal activity. So you can't come in here and say that you're doing it for the children or for the girls. Do it for those girls. Stand up against this type of activity. Also, these, you can tell who they are. They use the words, the buzzwords. These are their dog whistle words: diversity, inclusivity, equity, and multiculturalism. When you hear those words, you know you're listening to an extremist Democrat. Those are the buzzwords. And listen to them. They talk about being the first Latina or the first woman to be in this position or that position. That's who they are. They separate you into groups, not as individuals. And they worry so much about the color of your skin or your genitalia, or you can even change your genitalia. They believe that. Every one of them on this council believes that. And they have the activities to prove it. But I don't know one decent Mexican father or man who thinks it's okay for a transgender man to go into the same bathroom with his 10-year-old daughter. I don't know one. Also, I'd like to encourage these folks to endorse the Gascon recall publicly. Now's your chance to do it. Stand up and endorse the recall of George Gascon. And we know about corruption. We know the money's been flowing. We paid money to Stay Gallery, who thinks that this land is occupied by white colonizers and other American colonizers. And they voted, every one, to pay them $28,000 to subsidize their rent. I could go on, but I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Patricia. This is my daughter, Maya. She's a middle schooler. I know nothing about you guys. I just found out while we're in the parking lot that I'm District 1. But I do know that for the past 5 years, I've been driving down the street wondering what's going on. And are we looking at 5, 10, 20 years from now? I am a member, again, of District 1. I have nowhere to go. I own my home. I'm about to pay it off. Have nowhere to go. To me, opening an establishment like Ojos Locos is a decline. Makes me wonder, my daughter, who's middle schooler, what's going to be happening when she's going to college, when she comes back, when it's time to have my grandchildren because I cannot afford to go anywhere else. I don't care what party you are. I don't care about anything other than, are you looking out for the city's best interest? This is not okay. That's the Dollar Tree that my daughter and I go to. We've been seeing that corner decline for years. For years. And now we're going to add this layer. This is my neighborhood. I'm 042. That's my zip code. And I've been feeling resentful for a few years now that we are being dumped on when it comes who gets licenses to open business. And whatever goes bad, the drunk, the over traffic, the unruly behavior, it feels like it's on the border of my district. So I didn't know anything. I know very little, but that is not going to stay the same because I'm building a home, I'm building a life, and that's not going to be torn from under me just because we're not looking at what's going to happen 10, 15 years from now. Because the way I see it, just logic is, today we say it's okay for women scantily clothed to sell and distribute alcohol. Tomorrow, what's next? 5 years from now, okay, we tolerate this. What's next? A topless bar? What's next? A strip joint? What about my life? What about the efforts that I've made to live in this city that I can barely afford? It's going to be gone? It's going to be gone for her? I still got her around for another good 10 years. I want to be able to shop. I don't want us, coming down from our car to buy our weekly craft supplies while keeping an eye who's coming and going from what used to be the Denny's. So these are families. This is not morality. This is practical because I know I have a feeling in my heart that I wouldn't catch any of you having any drinks at that place because you know what that would say about your character. So how, if that's not the place you would visit, are we allowing for this place to come into our neighborhood? Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Ante todo, felicidades, Pacheco, por ser la nueva alcaldesa. De nuevo, vista a tu puesto de nuevo.
First of all, congratulations, Pacheco, for being mayor again for this year, for being back.
Ahora estamos en el bombo de ojos locos. ¿A quién de ustedes o a quién de sus amistades se le ocurrió traer ojos locos para aquí? Y a media cuadra en una escuela, en una high school, ese está loco.
Now we're on the ordeal of ojos locos. Which of you has the friends, or which of you came up with this idea of having this place half a block from the high school? This is crazy.
Eso va a traer muchos problemas para esta ciudad. Número uno, para la policía. Yo llevo 3 semanas trabajando en el shopping center que está frente de Portos. Ahí hay un club y cuando limpio los domingos, el parqueadero, wow, usted no sabe lo que yo encuentro ahí.
This is going to bring great problems. Number one, for the police. I've been working now for 3 weeks at across from Portos at the shopping center. There is a place, and when I clean up the parking lot on Sundays, wow, you'd be surprised what you see there.
Es un club y van con ropa. Imagínate ojos locos que andan las viejas sin ropa.
That's a club, and they wear clothing. Imagine going to Ojos Locos where the ladies are unclothed.
Yo creo que el que trajo eso para aquí o está mal de la cabeza o es que anda atrás del dinero.
What I think is the person who brought this here, they're sick in the head or they're after the money.
Ustedes mismos pueden tener dinero de otra forma, como le dije la otra vez a Livas, haciendo una economía interna con las muchas personas que viven aquí, que tienen negocios grandes de construcciones.
You yourselves could be making money other ways. As I mentioned to Livas the other time, that there needs to be an internal economy taking place here with people who have large construction businesses.
Si la ciudad de verdad está necesitada de tanto dinero, denle trabajo a esa gente, a las personas que viven aquí. No se lleven el dinero de esta ciudad para otra ciudad como Riverside, Anaheim. ¿Por qué? Si esas personas pagan taxi en esta ciudad, viven en esta ciudad, tienen su negocio registrado en esta ciudad, tienen sus casas en esta ciudad, ¿por qué ese dinero se lleva para otras ciudades? ¿Por qué?
This city has a lot of money that could be going to them there. Just hire, if the city needs the money, you should hire them, hire these people who live here, not have this money go out to Riverside, to Anaheim. These people, instead, who live here, who pay their taxes here, have their businesses registered here and have their homes here. Why?
Esta ciudad tiene que cuidar más el dinero, como en el caso de que usted, Pacheco, usted buscó los abogados y Frometa los apoyó. El caso de Patel. La ciudad le dio buena suma, le regaló buena suma de dinero a los abogados de Patel. Y sabían ustedes están callados. Pero la comunidad quiere saber si van a regresar ese dinero para atrás. Porque es impuesto de todas las personas estas que están aquí, que tienen propiedades, que tienen negocios, todo. Impuestos que pagamos nosotros en las comidas, en las marquetas aquí, que está bien cara. ¿Qué va a hacer la ciudad? ¿Va a recuperar ese dinero? ¿O ya se olvidó? A mí no se me ha olvidado.
The city needs to take better care of the money. There is like the situation that was brought by you, Pacheco, where you protected Patel and backed up by Formera, where the city gave away good money to Patel's lawyer, and you have kept it quiet. You haven't said it, but the community here needs to know, will you be returning this money? We are the community who pays the taxes, who buys things here at the store at very expensive prices now, very expensive at the market. Will the city be recovering this money?
Ustedes, como concilio, tienen que cuidar más el dinero en la ciudad. Ven un banco que ya este señor se va ya. $300,000 al año. Wow, más que la vicepresidenta de los Estados Unidos. $300,000 al año más beneficio. Eso es regalar el dinero. Porque otra persona puede venir por 200 y lo hace el trabajo que hace el señor. Porque este señor no hace nada.
This council needs to do a better job of taking care of the money of this city. Well, you will be leaving now, you who have been making $300,000, which is more than the vice president of the U.S. makes. $300,000 and benefits. Wow, that's a real giveaway. You could have anyone do it for $200,000, and they will do the work because you don't do anything.
Igual que esta ciudad, ahí en la avenida Flores, llegando ante los límites del puente ahí, con Bear Garden, ahí han hecho un clase hueco del gas o del agua, que usted va ahí y un día se va a matar, viene uno de la moto y se va a matar, y el hueco está ahí que lo taparon por arribita. Y nada, y la ciudad no ha hecho nada. Hasta que pase algo, que se mate alguien ahí, un cristiano se mate ahí.
This city needs to take care of going over there towards on Florence, towards the city boundary, towards Bell. There is a large hole made by either gas or water, I don't know. We're just waiting for someone in a motorcycle to go over it and get killed. Some good Christian fellow to be killed there. because so far they've only done a light cover-up, but or patching it up, but someone will be dying there.
Ya por último, lo quería dejar de último. Trujillo, lo mío y tuyo no se ha acabado todavía, ¿ok? Acuérdate que todos estaban de testigo cuando me pasó. Ríete.
Sí, Mr. Barragan,
Ríete.
Mr. Barbosa,
Tú eres,
please direct your comments
no,
to
no
me.
es acoso. Es una rata, no es una rata, porque los sitios animales no se pueden comparar con él.
Cuando quieras,
No, ok, cuando quieras.
Cuando quieras.
No ganes,
Councilmember
no
Trujillo.
ganes. Cállate, pinche rata de mierda.
Cuando
cállate.
Mr. Barbosa, please direct your comments to
Que me
me.
respete a mí,
Please
es mi
direct
tiempo, es
your
my
comments.
time.
Then
Es my time, que me respete, ¿ok?
direct
First
them.
warning.
¿Ok? Pacheco y
warning.
asociados. Es my time. Y cada vez voy a venir todas las reuniones. Y le voy a decir del dinero de Patel, que ustedes se lo regalaron al abogado, a tus amistades, Pacheco. Que tengan buenas noches. Lo mío va, ¿oíste? Pinche rata de mierda.
Cuando
Te van a deportar
quieras.
para El Salvador, cabrón.
Cuando quieras, vato loco.
Pinche rata.
Mr. Martinez, first warning.
Are you going to hold your council member accountable?
Mr. Martinez?
Yes. And this last thing, I left this for last to say to you, Trujillo, this thing between you and I, this is not over. We will continue. And this is not harassment on my part. And I would say he's just being a rat, but that's not fair to the poor little animals. They don't deserve that. You need to shut up. You're a rat. You need to respect. This is my time. It's my turn to speak. And you, Pacheco and Associates, it's my time. I will be here at every meeting. I will speak. I will speak about the money that was given away to Patel, your buddies, and this situation between you and I, this is going to continue on. It's not over. You're a shithead. You will be deported to El Salvador.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I am here to speak against Ojos Locos. I've spoken about this before. I am completely against that establishment opening in the city of Downey. Just recently, I read in the Downey Patriot that they hired a public relations representative to help us, the community, understand that they are just a restaurant and they are a family restaurant that we can bring our family to. So I decided to go on and read the comments, just maybe in case I wanted to go, which I really don't. I'm being sarcastic. I hope you know that. So these are the comments, and I really apologize to everyone if they are offensive, but I'm reading them exactly as they are posted by their best clientele. This place makes Hooters look like a baseline for conservative proper work attire. The girls here wear fishnets and thongs so wedged up their butt crack that you may see more than you bargained for. There are truck stops in Oklahoma more appealing than this Ojos Locos location. Tons of young women whom are barely dressed with their ass cheeks showing, handling food and drinks. My wife and I came with our 2 kids, ages 15 and 14, and were turned away because it was 7:18 p.m. And after 7 p.m., they do not allow children who are older than 12 years old because they serve drinks to teenagers at that time. They serve drinks to teenagers. Can you believe that? Super rude hostesses, but it's okay because the clientele is mostly drunk and their attire makes up for it. Let's face it, guys, don't come here to eat or drink. They come here to look at the girls. It's a Hooters experience. The food is mediocre. The cocktails are mediocre, but the girls are barely dressed. We walked and stayed for about 3 minutes and walked out. We had seen enough. This place is not family friendly. The waitresses and bartenders are half naked with cleavage and butt cheeks literally hanging out. I would rather go to Hooters any day of the week with my family than this place. Never been here, so we all went. First thing I thought was I forgot my gangster clothes. That appears to be their clientele. At least I have learned that this place doesn't attract people with jobs or without criminal records. Horrible food, slutty, nude, unfriendly waitresses. Also, being that I am a female, I didn't like the way their customers looked at me. Their clientele are dressed in their douchebags and tap-out shirts, and the cops are always surrounding this place. I couldn't even enjoy a few beers because of all the police at this place. If you have to have cops come monitor your restaurant, maybe something is wrong. Like Hooters, but the clientele drags in more testosterone than is needed or even safe. If you're in the mood for a sports bar, booze, low-end Mexican-leaning bar food, and paid to be friendly, scantily clad servers, Ojos Locos is an unrefreshing spin on Hooters. I can continue. There's a lot more. All the comments are the same. Inappropriate. Food is not good, but the girls are showing their butt cracks. I want to leave this here as evidence for you so that you can read the comments. But it goes on, and I've read stories in the media that are horrible. I think someone gave them to you already. This is not what Downey needs. This is not what the community deserves. I want to help this community, and I will do everything that I can to serve and to help the people in Downey. So I really hope that you are doing the same thing as our representatives. I hope that you care
Thank you,
about
ma'am.
us.
Good evening. That's my wife. My name is Miguel Rojas, and I am here to read part 2 because, as she said, we have tons of these. We have pages and pages, and I'd also like to submit these to the record. It is a loud environment, though, which I think is normal for a place like this. The waitresses were friendly, but super friendly with the guys, and gotta get them tips. Haha. Ojos Locos is a Latina version of Hooters for sure. This place has some very cute, half-naked waitresses all over the place who are not so friendly but are easy on the eyes. Overall, this place is my favorite of the restaurants. Wouldn't be a place I would take my family. If you like soccer, football, and Latino girls wearing next to nothing, this is a good start. Well, don't bring your wives or girlfriends. We never made it in the door before the armed security guard wanted to pat me, my 80-year-old father-in-law, and my wife down. We were going for dinner at 5:30 p.m., not a nightclub. So the security guards said other people are sneaking in guns. So we went across the street to Hooters, and guess what? No pat down, and we were welcomed with open arms. Well, interesting. We thought it was a sports bar, which is what they say, by the way. Not girls in low-grade thongs and bras. And I also agree, I don't think that regulating dress code is the appropriate approach. I should have read Yelp reviews before the visit, and so should have the Planning Commission. We thought this was a normal sports bar, didn't realize it's like Hooters on steroids. The drunk, belligerent customer is what I cannot deal with. My best friend and I were eating with his mother and uncle on a Sunday afternoon, and there was a table of drunk Mexican and white people using the N-word freely in every sentence. No stars, actually, but overall trash. Ojos Lucas is a bootleg Hooters. This place is very shady. They have no security, which is, I think, what they plan on doing here as well. Service wasn't bad at all, but the roaches were definitely not fun. In addition to, seen a total of 3, which is just a major turnoff with eating. Nothing on their website prepared us for walking in to find servers wearing almost nothing. If you want the dining experience, go somewhere else. So I'm assuming it's not really a restaurant. This is probably the trashiest place I've ever gone to eat. It's completely unprofessional. The waitresses don't have uniforms, and mostly all of their butt cheeks were hanging out and stomachs showing. I even saw one of the waitresses pull out a wedgie on her way into the kitchen. Most of the servers are wearing very scanty outfits, some too scanty. I love scanty as much as the next guy. I just love it on someone who looks over the age of 16 and who ought to be wearing scanty. Again, I'd like to submit these, and I think most people here have expressed my own beliefs about the place. We're definitely a no, and we please ask you to do your best to prevent this place from coming to Downey. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm not very good at this. I've never done this before. But my name is Don Miller, and I live on Pico Vista Road. I've been a resident of Downey for about over 50 years. And in the last year, we've had a problem with drones. They come up to the bedroom windows. They look in the second-story windows at girls changing into their night clothes. They fly over the pool. They hover over the pool. They make derogatory and vulgar remarks. And if you go outside and you're in the yard, they fly like 4 feet over your head. And we've had a real problem. Claudia is my councilwoman. We work together on the freeway expansion. And I've talked to the police chief. What I found out, we've made several complaints. The police have been out there. They've done investigations. And they said there are no laws covering drones, that you have to get a city ordinance. I would like for the city attorney to work with the police chief and the police department to draw up ordinances on what drones can and cannot do in this city. They should not be able to fly up to a second-story window, shine a light in, and remarks to a 15-year-old girl. And they should not be able to fly over your pool and hover. And this one individual has gotten out of prison, and he is on disability because of drugs, and he sleeps during the day, and he's up all night. And I have drapes in my bedroom window that have a backing on, a rubber backing, and the light shines right through, and he says, "We're back. It's time to get up." And he does this to the neighborhood.
Wow.
We've got emails in to you, Claudia. I think you got them today.
Yes, thank you. I got a new phone and I'm not able to check my city emails, but thank you.
You
We
also
will,
have
we will
videos
get
of the
to that.
drones that we took.
Thank you.
But if you could, and you can pass this ordinance and, sign it where the police department has something to work with, and we can get this stopped. This used to be, like I said, this was a good city to live in, and it was a very quiet neighborhood where I live. But recently, they have terrorized the neighbors there. It's a short street. It's between Telegraph and the freeway. And he's making hell. It's, day and night. And before something really bad happens, I hope you pass a law to take care of this. That's all I have to say. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for bringing that up. If I could, maybe we could look into that. So thank you again for bringing it up. You can always email any one of us. I know your council member is Councilwoman Fermetta. She's really good about responding to emails.
Yeah.
But you can also email me as well, or anybody here on council. But I'm sorry that is going on. That sounds horrible. So we'll go ahead and
Madam Mayor,
there
if
are
I may,
several-
I would like to also second that. I would like our city attorney to look into that. We
Yeah,
need
so
to
we'll
take care
go
of it.
ahead.
We'll bring back some.
We'll bring something back, and we could talk more later. We have 3 more people, and we're already an hour
Okay.
into.
I heard that Santa Monica has a very good ordinance on that, so you might check with them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor Pacheco and council members. I am Dorothy Pemberton. As a lifelong resident, I can remember that usually Downey had everything going right for it. Some disagreement with council, city staff, and even residents. But in the end, it was for the benefit and well-being for Downey. That has all changed. For the first time ever in our history, we have some of our city staff fleeing We have a mayor pro tem convicted of a felony on a recall. City manager Gil Levis has been forced to resign and leaving us in July. We remember that back in December, right before Christmas, that emergency meeting to fire him. Council chambers were filled with supporters in less than 48 hours. His work ethics and successful history were under scrutiny and brought on by 3 city council members. Council members Alvarez, Trujillo, and former member Ashton. Has anyone on council given the residents a reason why? To this day, and to my knowledge, no. And today I read the second resignation, Aldo Schindler. Mr. Schindler was Director of Community Development for 8 years and newly appointed Deputy City Manager. He was instrumental in bringing many good retail stores and developments to our city, now leaving. Why would anyone want to work in a hostile environment when you did your job for many years, and a good one at that? Then some of your council wants to fire you. Why? What is their agenda? The writing is on the wall for them to resign and hopefully no other. The good ones are running for the hills to get out of Downey. This shouldn't be. So with all this turmoil, we turn to voting for an interim city council person to fill the vacant chair that Sean Ashton abandoned. A 2-2 vote is useless. We've all seen that. So I'm pleased to say that you are considering filling that seat. We need someone with experience who knows how to run the city and communicate with others. We are losing 2 critical people in the city. That void needs to be addressed as well. How do you run a city with its top 2 key personnel missing? We have critical issues at hand, and this is not a training course for 6 months. No rookies need apply. And please do not vote for someone who wants to run for the seat in November, as that will be an unfair advantage. This was stopped a few years ago with a vacancy. It is also not a political decision. It is a nonpartisan decision and for the council to do what is good for Downey and its residents. City Council has never been a Democratic or Republican platform. Don't let party and affiliation play into this. I always vote for the best candidate. Sometimes that person's Republican, sometimes it's Democrat. I voted both ways in the past and will continue to do so in the future. Again, experience counts and we need it more than ever. I respectfully request that you nominate the person with the most experience and the one that's on the slate who is a former council member and mayor, Mario Guerra. There are no other former mayors in D2. Many have passed on. This is a very logical decision if you truly intend to put Downey first. Then let the best candidate run in November and be elected. Oh, and the appointment of the Planning Commission, Sean Barrios, taken today nominated by Councilman Alvarez. Yes, we found out that he does work for the Hustler Corporation, an adult industry. Really? Planning Commission? Wow. If this fits the code of ethic commissioners that he must sign, we need to check on that, especially with the Ojos Locos coming in. I don't think this is the right candidate either. Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, please have a seat. Mr. Martinez, please have a seat.
Second warning.
Okay, so my favorite phrase so far that has been uttered tonight is a phrase by Mr. Macy. You know, he brought us back to Plato, to Aristotle, and talked about how if we don't pay attention as the citizens, we'll end up with a government of fools. And I know that in other translations, that means actually criminals. So I think it really fits well with everything we're finding out. Because, you know, I also read this other thing on NPR a few weeks ago where someone did a survey and it found that like 80% of Americans believe that local officials are completely corrupt. But also 80% of Americans believe that their own local elected officials are not corrupt. So obviously that makes no sense. Obviously, the vast majority of government officials, local or upper level, are corrupt. They're doing corrupt things all over the place. You know, we can address it in many different ways, but, you know, let's remind ourselves, so who's missing over here? The assistant city manager is one of the people who's missing. We also have one council member missing. But why is he missing? You know, we have to, you know, a lot of people, including Mr. Martinez, who I believe will be running to replace Ms. Frometa. So that's going to be very exciting. So he's been calling out the behavior of that gentleman for over 2 years. And now, look, it's no longer a conspiracy theory. He's been put on administrative leave. Let's go through some of the offenses, He voted at Central Basin. He represented Downey and a bunch of other cities, essentially, and voted to benefit a developer in Montebello. And then all of a sudden, he got a really nice house from Toll Brothers. There was a very clear connection that a lot of constituents had been pointing out, and it was ignored by the council. Yet another thing that happened was that he assaulted a female member of the Central Basin Water Board. He instigated an assault and to demand that she be grabbed. So and then Claudia Frometa laughed about that and said it wasn't an assault or even at the instigation of an assault. So I don't understand how she claims that she, is for civility when she's excusing that type of behavior from a taxpayer-funded employee. So obviously, the city has been corrupt for a long time. In the 80s, come on, people, let's remember back to the Krikorian Theater and everything that was going on there. That was corruption, plain and simple. Mr. Escui also spearheaded, along with the Public Works. He was previously Public Works Director, and Mr. Livas and the Finance Director. They conspired to not pay the city's own use of water. That has already been litigated in Long Beach and in other cities all around California. They've been stealing. Please, ratepayers, residents, the city is stealing your money. They're charging more for water than they should have. They've been doing this for decades. The city of Long Beach already found out. Other cities are finding out. It's time for a lawsuit here in Downey against the city to get that money back. So there's just so much fraud, so much criminality going on here. That's why I'm so excited that we have more public engagement. I truly hope that at least one of the movement members from the Ojos Locos runs for office and wins. The last time we had a lot of community members become active as a result of the tenants' rights movement. So we have one person who was elected from that. So let's get real democracy in here. No to this Ojos Locos. Yes to the people.
We need to take a brief break. We lost a council member. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Alexandra Vargas, and I'm a resident of Downey for the past 18 years. I first want to thank all of you guys, councilman and mayor, for being here and listening to us. We voted for you. We put you on those chairs. It's our fault for making the choices that we made. And this is what we have, so now we have to deal with it. So I'm asking all of you to please relook at this whole Ojos Locos thing. The city of Linwood, they went ahead and rejected that this restaurant went into their plaza. But here we are in one of the most prestige cities around the neighborhood. We are a very prestige city that everybody looks up to. And now we're gonna have this Ojos Locos practically nude. As some of the parents tell me, Alejandra, speak up for us. Alejandra, be out there, because we don't want some lady who's naked serving my meat. They're gonna be showing their meat. And we're not for that. We're here to talk about what we pay for our taxes, why we decided to come to Downey. We came here to pay high taxes and high prices in these homes because it's a very prestige city. However, with the ongoing bars throughout the city, with this whole pandemic, it just opened a whole bar of city, and it needs to stop. I know that you did a policy for the dress code, but at the same time, it's being reviewed. But at the same time, that's not the solution. We have enough bars throughout the city. I constantly drive a lady to clean one of the clinics right here on by La Reina and Firestone. I mean, last week I seen this naked guy running all over the bar behind Kelly's. I called the police. I lost count of how many times I've called the police for ongoing issues, homeless, messing up our bus stops, our kids. I pick up my daughter here by the restaurant in the corner of Firestone, constantly seeing homeless, constantly. I cannot let my daughter walk by herself. When this bar comes in, it's just gonna be worse. So we need to put a stop to this. We together can make a difference. We together can change this and devote from this not happening. We can do it. But we need to be united with my community, with our people, with the family, but most important with you, Mayor. With the council, they're here to back you up. But you need to take the lead because we cannot do it. We're here standing and we can fulfill the whole street on a strike. We can do that. We have the power for that. But only you can help us. And I am begging you. I am praying for every day for my daughter to grow up in a good neighborhood as when I came in 18 years ago. I want my grandchildren to take over my house. I want your children, I want your families to be proud as who I am here. But today, it's not helping. You know, what's going on also with these bars? I mean, everybody, COVID, yes, they took over our streets. When is that going to stop? They take in every parking lot. They expanded their businesses, more alcohol. I cannot even sleep anymore because I hear every freaking bar with their, I love bandas. I mean, I'm Mexican. I love to party, but there's a moment for everything. And it needs to be behind closure, not open to everyone to see and hear. So this needs to stop. It needs to stop. I'm asking you, please, whatever you need from me, I will volunteer. I have 28 years experience being management in hospitals as a director. I can fulfill any of those chairs to help you bring back the city that I came into one day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Carlos Arvizu. I'm an ex-Marine, actually a Marine forever, Vietnam veteran. And, you know, I look in this room here, there's a lot of hostility here. And I think rightfully they have a right to. You guys are their elected officials, okay? Frankly, I'd like to be up there and at least be the conservative voice, because what you guys are doing is really a shame. You know, Lord Acton once said, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think a lot of people here are like I said, they feel what the city is going through is not right. By the way, you're not the only conservative, okay? And I'm not trying to play politics because I vote Democrat and Republican. But in any event, the choices we make will dictate the lives we lead. And right now, you guys are not leading. You're following whatever your agenda is. You know, you need to stop and realize these people, they voted you guys in. They expect and demand an ethical conduct from you guys. When you guys vote to have a meat market all along Downey Avenue, Firestone, I mean, this is really ridiculous. Why don't you appoint a commission here and bring in some nice steakhouses, you know, with piano bars, instead of all this crap that you guys are bringing in? This is really ridiculous. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
the poster board.
There's a poster board right there. Does it belong to somebody? The poster board right in front of you? Does that belong to anybody? It should be on somebody's lap. So again, thank you all for coming and voicing your concerns. City Manager Livas, I know it's been explained before, but can you explain again what the Planning Commission did, whether we could have stopped this business from coming in legally? What can we or can't we do? Or maybe I should hand it over.
Yeah, first of all, I think we'll probably City Attorney and myself in tandem will try to answer some of these questions. First of all, let me say this, is that the fact that you're here means a lot, and certainly the city does not agree with this particular business coming in. We'll tell you that. One of the misconceptions is that somehow we brought this group in. We didn't bring this group in. They are allowed by right to come in, unfortunately, under the zoning code that they're under. The Planning Commission purview was two items. It wasn't whether or not they can get a permit or not to actively open in the city of Downey. Their permit was for an entertainment and to do some remodeling. That was their permit, right? It wasn't whether or not they can come in and under the zoning code, we don't have the authority. The city did not have the authority to deny that particular business. Okay. So some have said, well, why didn't you just buy the business or buy the property? The problem with buying the property is that we then own that property subject to the lease, meaning the city now owns the lease to this property that's running this particular business. So then we'd say, well, why don't you just break the lease? Well, then guess what? We own now the lease, the 20-year lease, plus business goodwill, which is, basically shutting down the business. So we're into this for millions and millions of dollars, right? When we don't really have the authority to deny them. We didn't go out and seek them. We didn't, believe me, that's the last business that we wanted to see in the city of Downey. So giving those constraints, what we said, let us see if we can put some guardrails around this particular business, knowing what they have done in other states, particularly in Texas. And so we said, we don't want Texas operation in the city of Downey, right? And let me say this, the city of Downey really for many, I've been here for 14 years, and we've done everything possible to make this a family-friendly city to the best of our ability in providing the right kinds of jobs. For example, Kaiser, right, coming in with top-notch jobs. PIH, when that hospital was going to collapse and go away, we stepped forward and put our money where our mouth is, and we invested in those high-paying jobs. And we made sure that we provided high-paying jobs in terms of a medical overlay zone to make sure that we certainly fostered that industry in the city of Downey. So I want to make that very clear, that those are the kinds of things that we do invest in, and we do seek out, and we do go out for businesses. So we've been able to do that. But in this particular case, so we said, look, let's put some guardrails around this particular business, because that's what we're left with, right? So what we did is we put 40 different conditions on this use, 40. Security was a big deal, and we wanted to make sure that they had a security plan, and they paid for 4 security guards there as well. The other thing we did was, probably, I think it's only the second one in the state of California, or maybe in the nation, where we actually put together an ordinance that governed what they can wear, right? And in that particular case, there isn't a degree of elevation to the point where you can close the business. It's a zero tolerance. If they don't meet the requirements of the ordinance, then we can haul them in here, and then they can be shut down. Right? So that's not irrefutable, that's in the ordinance, right? So you say, well, how do you comply with that? We have a code enforcement department, and we have a police department that will be monitoring these things. So as we move forward with that, so that's kind of the parameters. Number 2 is that I'm actually going to be meeting with some of the residents who have concerns on that with the property owner to try to get them to, under their umbrella, they have other uses and other restaurants. We're trying to get them to convince them to open another one of their restaurants under their umbrella other than Ojos Locos, right? So that's something that we're working on. We're continually engaging them to let them know that in Downey, this is not the kind of, we don't want Texas and Downey. This is not what we are. This is not who we are. And we will continue to fight that and make sure that doesn't happen. So that's kind of, our parameters. But I wanted to make it very clear, we did not bring them in here, okay? That's not what we want. That's not this council's intentions. It's not the city's intentions of bringing that type of business in here. But what we do have is some powers, some policing powers, in order to make sure that they comply with the ordinances that we're passing, okay? And if they get out of line, then we haul them in here, and this is what we do. We revoke it. So that's currently where we're at right now with this particular business. We're going to be meeting with them and trying to get them to see the light. We believe that it's in their business interest to change the type of business and restaurant that they're bringing to Downey, right? So we've made it abundantly clear. So that's kind of, it's not exactly, I know that the answer that people want to hear, but it's certainly what we have been trying to do to sort of to put a box around this as much as possible to control where that is. So our hope is that they are no different than the restaurant that's next to Downey High School now, which is La Barca, right? They serve alcohol. They're a restaurant. We're hoping that, if they can find a different model to put in there, that it will be something like that, at least that we don't have these issues that are there. And I will tell you, what they're opening in Texas is not going to be what they're opening here. So I don't, Council Member, Madam Mayor, that's not my explanation. So we will be continuing to meet, and I know you have your hands, but we've already taken, public hearing on this. So we will following up with them. There is a group of folks that we will be meeting with here later on this month to continue to engage them to do the right thing for the citizens of Downey. And I know that our PD and our code enforcement and the city council stands committed to making sure that they operate in the form that is passed in the ordinance and with the 40 conditions that are on their business now.
Thank you, City Manager Rivas. I think that covered everything. Okay. So again, your concerns, we heard your concerns. We take your concerns seriously. And if you have any questions, you can always email us on City Council. So again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for being engaged, and thank you for your input, because your concerns were heard. So we will now proceed on to public hearing. We have one matter, an ordinance to establish an inclusionary housing program. Introduce ordinance number 22, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Downey amending Article 1 of the Downey Municipal Code to add Chapter 5, inclusionary housing, to establish standards and procedures for an inclusionary housing program applicable to multifamily development projects of 10 units or more. The hour having arrived, the public hearing is now open. The time is 8:48 p.m. City Clerk Duarte, do we have proof of publication?
We do, Mayor.
Can I have a motion and a second to receive and file the publication?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
City Clerk Duarte, can we take a vote, please?
Yes. The motion is approved with Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez absent.
Thank you. City Manager Rivas, is there a staff report?
Madam Mayor, there is a staff report. I'm going to kick it off to our Deputy City Manager, Aldo Schindler, but the presentation will ultimately be given by Kathy Head, President of Kaiser Morrison and Associates.
Thank you, City Manager Rivas. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Back in 2019, the City Council created a council subcommittee for affordable housing consisting of council members for Meta and Trujillo. The goal of the subcommittee was to develop strategies to meet the city's affordable housing goals and create a balanced strategy to include affordable housing in all future housing developments within the city. Hence, they directed staff to do some research and look at inclusionary housing ordinance and see how they can help include the affordability components to future housing developments within Downey. Staff held community workshops to solicit input from our community in December of 2021 and January of 2022. The subcommittee met various times to discuss the matter, and at their last meeting in February of 2022, directed staff to bring to council for tonight a draft inclusionary housing ordinance for your consideration. As our city manager mentioned, tonight our subject matter expert on the topic, Kathy Head, president of Kaiser Marston, will provide a detailed presentation on the matter and will be able to take questions. With that, Kathy, I invite you to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. As was mentioned, I'm Kathy Head, President of Kaiser Marston, and I also manage the firm's affordable housing practice for way too long to even go into. In any event, over the last 20 years, I've performed over 30 inclusionary housing financial analyses, and so I bring that experience to you in terms of yours. One thing that I really want to mention before I go forward, though, is every community is different. So every time I think one of these is going to be easy, it never is. It's always something different. And what I like to do then is look at the actual specific needs of a community when I put these together. And the key factor that has to be remembered throughout this presentation is that this is a balance. There's no question that you have an affordable housing need. It's been defined for you by the state, in addition by common sense. There's also, though, a need to have developers want to develop in your community. So you have to balance the needs of your affordable housing needs against the also not creating a constraint to housing, excuse me, constraint to housing so the developers won't develop. So I just want to start with the legal standards that you have to abide by when you're putting together an inclusionary housing ordinance. And they've been done both legislatively and they've been done by the courts. But the key from the courts has been they cannot be confiscatory and they cannot deprive an owner of a fair and reasonable return on their investment. Now, that's a bit problematic, excuse me, that's a bit problematic because it hasn't been defined. So it's very important, I knew water was coming, thank you. It's very important, though, to stay within sort of the common sense bounds to create that balance again. I am going to take a sip of the water. So one thing that Kaiser Marston brings to these analyses, goodness gracious, I'm not sick either, so there's no reason for this. One thing Kaiser Marston brings to this is that we have a real estate background. So we work for, at some point or another, every major city in the state looking at real estate investments. And so that's one of the things we bring to the financial analysis to make sure that you're not being confiscatory and not depriving an owner of the fair and reasonable return, because those needs need to be balanced. So what we want to ask you tonight and what we're going to make recommendations to you tonight about are the various major components of an inclusionary housing policy. And so those are the minimum size of a project that will trigger the obligation. Smaller projects are impacted more heavily than larger projects are because they have fewer units to spread the impact over. The next thing that's important is to set the target income and affordability standards. There's no doubt, again, that you have needs at every single one of these income categories. But again, an inclusionary housing policy is only going to be able to fulfill a part of your affordable housing need, and it's really being handled by your private development market. So that needs to be kept in mind. The third thing to look at is by legislation and practically by law, you have to provide alternatives to the actual provision of the affordable housing units on site with a market rate development. Always the foundation is on-site production of affordable housing. That's the whole objective of an inclusionary housing policy. But you also have to be able to provide options to developers to use under defined circumstances and under requirements imposed by the City Council. So the options that have been put forth in legislation in terms of rental inclusionary are an in lieu fee option. So a developer would pay an in lieu fee rather than producing the units, and then the city would have the money and would use that money to help produce affordable housing units. an off-site production so that if a developer chooses not to build it on-site within the market rate project, then they could build it in an off-site location fulfilling the obligation. Those are the two most common options. The other options that are identified in AB 1505, which is the rental legislation, is land dedication. So a developer would give you land, give the city land, which you would then turn over to a developer to produce an affordable housing project. That does not happen very much. It's a really tough scenario to make work, but it is an option and it is something to consider. Acquisition and substantial rehabilitation of existing units is always a really popular idea because it stabilizes neighborhoods, it revitalizes neighborhoods. It's using an existing housing stock to create and maintain affordability. The one problem with it is that it's very, very difficult to get RHNA credit for it. So a lot of a reason that you would want to do an inclusionary housing ordinance is because you're trying to help your city get to your RHNA goals.
Kathy, can you explain RHNA for the council?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Sure. It's the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. You're just now going through your sixth cycle housing element. The state, via the Southern California Association of Governments, has assigned you goals in terms of above moderate, moderate, low, and very low income requirements. And inclusionary is one means of helping to reach those goals. And so it's in your housing element. It's the reason I've done about 12 of these in the last 12 months, because it's in everyone's housing element. But it just, again, a realistic perspective of what inclusionary can do is very important. Again, so that makes acquisition and rehab a tough one because it is very, very difficult to get RHNA credit for it. Okay, so moving on to the income and affordability categories. Ownership affordable housing, as a general rule, ends up being targeted to moderate income households. And that is for a few reasons. One reason, and the most probably important reason, is moderate income households have more disposable income to spend on housing related expenses. So owning a house, as everybody who owns a house knows, becomes a very expensive proposition, not just the mortgage and the property tax, but just the ongoing cost of maintaining and repairing your home. We find that moderate income households, as opposed to low and very low income households, who can make very good homeowners, not to say they can't, it's just a more difficult proposition to make work in a high cost area. So that's the beginning of the ownership side. And just to give you context, in the most current year of state statistics for LA County, a moderate income family of four can have an income up to $96,000. Interestingly, never mind. I won't make a tangent. I've been warned about tangents. AB 1505 is the legislation that was done to allow jurisdictions to use inclusionary for rental units. There was a court case in 2009 that effectively prohibited cities from using inclusionary on rental housing. And so the state legislature, via AB 1505, reinstituted that ability. But when they did it, in the legislation itself, they provided an example that said they used the example of 15% at 80% of area median income. It wasn't clear when the legislation was originally approved whether that was just an example or whether they meant it. Subsequently, they put out a technical memorandum that said we meant it. And so there's a presumption that the Housing and Community Development Department of the state of California has said to you, we have the opportunity to evaluate your program if you go more stringent than 15% at 80% of area median income. Now, you've done a financial analysis. That's what I've done as a part of this process. And so we'll get to the results of that. So there is an opportunity, if the financial analysis supports more, that you could conceivably do it. But I think what's really important to keep in mind is that, especially now in housing element season, but just generally, the Housing and Community Development Department of the state of California always has the opportunity and come in and require you to prove you're not creating a constraint to housing. And so in a community where you're not seeing a lot of development anyway, any sort of requirement you pose creates that opportunity. So it's my advice to not go too far astray of what the state has told you they prefer to see. Another thing that is important to note is all of this pertains to the on-site production of affordable housing within a market rate project. When you offer options like off-site production or the in lieu fee, you're now no longer bound by those requirements because they always have the opportunity to do on-site provision of affordable housing. So you can make your in lieu fee stricter, you can make your on-site production restrictions stricter when you have the options. The other thing to keep in mind, and there'll be an example of this later, is that the state, through Section 65915 of the Government Code, has created a density bonus project that all jurisdictions are subject to, and each year they provide more benefits to the developers of housing who provide affordable housing to use that density bonus. And that density bonus, now the maximum density bonus achievable, is a 50% density bonus. So in communities that have adopted inclusionary housing, it's very likely on sites that can accommodate it efficiently that that density bonus will be used. And that density bonus then mitigates the impacts created by the affordable housing requirement. So I ran some prototypes, and we're just summarizing what I did, but there's a whole long report that we could go into in depth. But so the ownership project that I ran was a condominium development. I used examples of development being considered in the city and that have happened in the city. And that goes back to what I said about I always like to make it specific to the community I'm working in. That project then was at 24 units the acre. It had attached garages. That's the reason for that density, is to create a density where attached garages can still be supported. I think the important thing about this chart to look at is the entire impact of an affordable housing requirement is what we call the affordability gap. And the affordability gap is the difference between what somebody could sell a unit for at the market rate price versus what they're required to sell it at under an inclusionary or an affordable housing requirement. So ownership provides a more direct way of looking at that affordability gap, and that's why I always use it first. So in my prototype project, just look at a 3-bedroom unit, for example. The market rate price was $650,000. The moderate income affordable housing price, which is determined based on area median income, 35% of income being spent on housing expenses, property taxes, mortgage, utility allowance, maintenance, et cetera. The affordable price derived from that is $390,000. So you have an affordability gap of $259,900. So for each affordable unit that you require, the developer will have foregone sales revenue of approximately $260,000 for a 3-bedroom unit. That's fine. It is clear that inclusionary has an impact on development economics. It's just, again, creating that balance between the needs of the public and not creating a constraint to development. Based on the analysis of the prototypes that we ran and the whole financial analysis, we came up with a supportable inclusionary housing requirement for ownership units at 10% moderate income. And that translates, so then when you want to look at it in terms of an in lieu fee, again, the overall average of the 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms was $238,000, the affordability gap. At a 10% requirement, that translates to $23,800 per total unit in the project, because you don't have any affordable units in the project, so you measure it against all of the units. Or if you measure it per square foot, which I actually think is fairer, because then bigger units paid bigger fees, smaller units pay smaller fees, it works out to $15.90 per square foot. Okay, this is really small. But what I wanted to do to show you with apartments, and the apartment gaps they're more complicated to figure out, because with for sale, a developer builds the units and then sells the units, and then they're gone. They've taken their profit and they're gone. In an apartment project, the owner continues to own the project and operate the project over time. And so it's a series of things that you have to look at. But what the top part of the chart shows you is the difference between the market rents and the affordable rents at 3 different income levels. And so as you would guess, the very low income units have the biggest gap and the moderate income units have the smallest gap. And so just using the examples, the very low income rent for a 1-bedroom unit is 700 and I can't even see it. Is it
737.
I'm sorry?
737.
I was going to say, I think it's 737 or 757. I just couldn't be sure. I won't even try to read the rest of the numbers, or I could look at my own papers. But what that does is it brings you down when you take those differences. So when you take an $1,882 difference in a unit that in terms of affordability gap, you can see that you're creating a significant impact on the development economics. The bottom level of the chart then shows you what that translates to into a market rate value for the unit and minus a very low income value for the unit. And then it shows you the affordability gap. So for very low income, it's $421,000 per affordable unit. And then that gap falls the less stringent that you get when you're getting all the way to moderate income, where you're a little over 200,000. So as you can see, it's about twice as much of an affordability gap to create a very low income unit as it is to create a moderate income unit. So I ran prototypes for apartments at varying sizes and varying density levels, again, based on prototypes from the community of project types that are being proposed or being developed. As you can see from this table, small projects really get hit hard by an inclusionary housing requirement. And so when you look at it, it could support a 2% very low income requirement or a 5% moderate income requirement. So that's less than a unit in a 10-unit project. So I think it's a really important distinction, is small projects, in my opinion, do need a different standard than larger projects. Then when you start looking at the bigger projects at the higher densities, the 2-acre site at 24 units the acre, again attached garages, or 40 units the acre, then not attached garages, you get up to an 11% moderate income supportable, or a 13% moderate income supportable, or 5% very low, or 5% low, and 6% low. So that gives you the range on apartments. But we come back to the government code 65915, which allows for the density bonus, which again doesn't work as well on small projects as it does on larger projects that have more site area to deal with, because if you start changing construction types, it gets more expensive to build extra units. And so it's important to understand the impact that can be achieved with density bonus. And in our analysis, it did show if a developer can effectively use the density bonus, they can support up to a 15% requirement. And that 15% requirement would be at very low income. Now, what's important about that, because my conclusion is going to come up and say you should do an 11% moderate income requirement, and I want to stay on this table for just 1 minute to say, it's my professional opinion and it's been borne out in communities I work in, if you establish any kind of a requirement, any kind of inclusionary requirement, in this case I'm saying an 11% moderate income, it's actually in a developer's best interest to do a 15% very low income requirement. You're required by a court case to accept those units towards fulfillment of your inclusionary requirement. And so even though it wouldn't be a mandatory 15% very low income requirement, I believe you'll have on your larger projects developers who have to fulfill a requirement anyway, an affordable housing requirement, figuring out that it's in their best interest to do 15% very low income. And that's, again, because they can get a 50% density bonus. So that's another consideration. So using the moderate income affordability gap of $203,000 a unit, we come to a fee of $22,300 per total unit, or $23.50 per square foot of rentable area. Okay, now we're to inclusionary housing fulfillment options. You have 3 options basically in terms of in lieu fee. I believe you have to offer it, but I don't think you don't have to make it easy, but it does have to be, I believe, a part of your policy. So you could set the in lieu fee using the affordability gap analyses like I've shown you and using that methodology. If you want developers to pay it, if there's certain types of projects that you'd like to see developers pay it, you can discount it so that there's a natural incentive to pay it, or you could create a schedule. And I've had all three of these happen, depending on the city I've worked in. And then if you create a schedule, you make your smaller units have a lower fee so that the impact is less on them, and you can allow projects up to a given size to pay the in lieu fee by right. I went over these, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time on them unless you're interested afterwards. In terms of the other options, offsite production, I think, does have some real possibilities in places that have a lot of land. But if you don't have a lot of land, it's a harder option to fulfill. Land dedication and acquisition rehab, I already spent a significant amount of time on. So we get to recommendations. So based on the financial analysis, and based on the need to not be confiscatory and not create an opportunity for developers and property owners to get a reasonable return, my conclusion is that a 10% moderate income ownership requirement is supported. I'm suggesting that the options be that in on-site production and off-site, in on-site production, you require the units to match the market rate units. So if it's 20% 2 bedrooms and 50% 3 bedrooms and 30% 4 bedrooms, then the inclusionary unit should match that 20, 50, 40. Well, that didn't add up, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Okay, so then, and then an offsite, then I would suggest that you require it to be near the actual market rate units that are being developed. And I would also suggest that you try to have that be apartment units, because you can get deeper affordability. And then in lieu fee payments, I think you should offer, in terms of ownership housing, just based on criteria you as a city council come up with that you're comfortable with. It can go all the way from being by right, so a developer could pay the in lieu fee on every single project, or it could be under extreme hardship, proven extreme hardship. And I have a definition of extreme hardship. So that is absolutely a council policy decision. The covenant period, I'm suggesting to be one cumulative 45-year period. So as it's sold and resold, it continues to be under resale controls for that 45 years. Or you can follow what the density bonus does, which is allow for the unit to be resold at the market rate price under the first sale, and then you receive a payment back which is equal to the original affordability gap plus a share of the equity appreciation. If you follow the second, you've lost the affordable unit, but you've gained funds for the city that can be used to leverage to deeper affordability on a strictly affordable housing project. On apartment, as I mentioned, it's an I'm recommending an 11% moderate income requirement. I'm again suggesting that they be distributed on a pro rata basis to the unit mix in the market rate project, off-site and close proximity. For apartments, I'm suggesting that in lieu fee only be offered in cases of extreme hardship. And that's because apartments really are the strongest way to do affordable housing in terms of you have one owner, you have one manager, tenants move in, tenants move out, and you can maintain affordability, you can maintain the quality of the project on a uniform basis. Rental units just really do create, I think, the strongest affordable housing product. And then the covenant period, we're recommending that it is a minimum of 55 years, but it's for as long as the site is put to a residential use. So that's short of a perpetual requirement, but it's perpetual as long as it's residential. And that's to just protect you from if over time that's no longer a residential neighborhood. Okay, that's it. So I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from my council colleagues?
Yes, thank you. It's nice to see you in person
Nice to see
after so many Zoom calls.
Yes.
The recommendations that you mentioned, and again, I'm familiar with the information because we went through these during our previous meetings, but are your recommendations, as I'm looking at the proposed inclusionary housing ordinance that we have, are these part of what we are looking at Because I remember talking about the in lieu fees, and I remember discussing the length of time
Right.
for these. I guess I'm going to go back to maybe Aldo and find out if the recommendations are in this ordinance.
Yes, those recommendations are included in the ordinance in the various sections.
Okay, thank you. I think, again, there are no easy solutions, but based on the conversations and based on the study that you did of our city, and the mandates that we have by the state, and where we stand as a city and what we're grappling with, I do believe that this ordinance and the recommendations and all of the discussions that my council colleague and I had with you and Aldo fall in line with what we need to, the steps we need to take to have this inclusionary housing ordinance. So I'm pleased. Thank you for all the work and for your approach and the study that was done. So
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate the work, and Aldo, thank you for working on this as well.
And just for clarification, I did notice that I think the in lieu fee is $15.90 per square foot of sellable area, and rental will have an in lieu fee of $24.90 per square foot of leasable area. Is that what you're referring to, Councilwoman Fermetta?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Trujillo, do you have anything to add?
No questions. Thank you for your very thorough presentation.
Oh, thank you.
I agree. That was a very thorough presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think I stayed within my time limit.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that.
I will now open this item for public comment. City Clerk Duarte, have we received any written correspondence to be read into the record?
We have not, Mayor.
Members of the public wishing to address the City Council regarding the public hearing item may now come forward and form a line. I remind speakers that you have 3 minutes to address the council.
So, ladies and gentlemen of Downey, are we bombarded with lies or myths about livable, inclusionary housing plans? Because based on this City of Downey 2021 through -2029 housing element revised draft December 2021, I find it offensive that some nigga lied to me about housing. Now, whether we want to introduce this amendment article through the municipal code, fuck HUD. That's what I think of housing. Because the definition of section 1502, affordable housing, is discriminatory and racist. Because no motherfucker can afford $300,000 today on his own salary at minimum wage. And what does that mean? It means that Aldo, the community developer, has his nice home up in Sacramento and his home down here in California, Downey. Now, why he earns a living like that, I can't tell you why, but fuck, I wish I had that kind of income rolling in. 'Cause I'd be a rolling nigga.
Mr. Herman, first warning, you're off topic.
No, ma'am, I'm giving you the definition of my mythology and structure of AB 1505. So please don't fucking interrupt me. Now, again, this inclusionary housing, it's been a proven fact. Los Angeles tried this. And that's why I came to Downey, because he tried it. And they used me as an example to make me homeless. And since I haven't been working for 3 years due to COVID, you see I'm still fucking alive. Still looking for housing, but not in Downey. Because you have too many motherfucking problems about housing. You can't build too high, you can't build too low, you can't have subterranean living anymore. So the whole plan is fucked up. Now, if I was like Trujillo, a landlord owning property all over with Mommy Pacheco, the mayor, then I wouldn't have to worry. But I don't have that type of income. So I think it would be better when we built these type of housings, we built mixed use in the bottom so that I can open up a restaurant below and live upstairs above so that I too can be the new owner of our Ojos Locos restaurant right below where I live. That way I can sell to all the bitches and cunts that live in my community. And we all win-win. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herman.
Oh, here you go, ma'am. This is for the public record here. 2021, 29 bullshit.
Lee Squire, retired Brea City employee, 31 years, finance department. City of Brea also uses Kaiser Marston and Associates. We've used them probably since about 1990. However, I'm proud to say that the City of Brea, we've had an inclusionary housing ordinance since 1993. I also concur with their findings that the greatest bang for your buck for inclusionary housing is the rental units. Also, even though you can apply them to owner-occupied, in all of our inclusionary housing units in new developments, it still required a significant down payment assistance to our inclusionary housing applicants. So again, I'm a strong supporter of affordable housing, and I totally concur with their findings that inclusionary housing units within your rental market is your best answer for your inclusionary housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, supply and demand. Is there really a demand for inclusionary housing in Downey? Or affordable housing? Or is there a demand for single-family dwellings? What's important is the amount of land that you're negotiating with here. That's what the cost is. That's what's important. Are anybody going to be in, whether they're renters or buying into this facility, can they afford the price that they're going to be asked to pay? Or we're going to have government subsidies bail these people out, which is at the taxpayer's expense. I say we don't need any inclusive housing here in Downey. We need single-family dwellings where people can apply and pay their mortgages for their own property. If we look at any affordable housing over the years, look at Manhattan. They've been doing this for 70 years. Has the rent gone down in Manhattan? Has the population gone down in Manhattan since that time? Absolutely. They were way overcrowded. But now there's nobody there because they can't afford it, so they have to move. How about San Francisco? How's the rent doing in San Francisco? What a scam this whole thing is. This is why the state, run by Democrats, are working with their developer friends to put money in their pockets and to put money in your pockets, and nothing gets done. The demand is still there, because the supply is never enough to take care of the demand. That's the whole point. Now, the other issue is the same type of facility or housing that you're going to build. You have the same labor, the same materials to build the same house as you would, say, in Los Angeles, that'll cost you, say, $1 million, just housing in general. But in Houston, it'll cost you $150,000. Now, why is that? We need to get rid of all these zoning laws, all the regulations, and let the free market work. Let people get what they demand. We're not clamoring for inclusionary housing or affordable housing. We want single-family dwellings in Downey. Thank you very much.
Mike Greenspan. Now, years ago, back in the 90s, I said to my dad, who retired about 7 years ago as a real estate appraiser, I said, we're the generation that's going to have to inherit the house. And my dad said, oh, that can be arranged. Now, if the appraiser doesn't get it, do you think a city council or a state legislature would get it? What I tried to signify to my dad was, we're not going to be the generation that goes in, qualifies to purchase a house. And I hate to say the generation that inherits the house, because the equity is there and prices have gone up, and always prices go up. They don't go down. Maybe if you own some stocks, they might go down. But other than that, what goes down is not in real estate. Now, I came in and they were talking about density bonus. I've heard that density bonus issue. It's been compared to LA. Pasadena was comparing it years ago when we could go to their meetings with LA. So, and that's not a new term. We can't legislate the price of the house. We can maybe do things such as get rid of regulations that cause it to go up. Years ago, I umpired a game and a guy was a developer. He said, this is in Palisades, but he was talking about LA. He said, all the regulations push the cost up of housing in Los Angeles by 30%. So figure out all your regulations and how much is it pushing up the cost of your housing. Someone once told me in Redondo Beach, they weigh the doors. I mean, can we get more ridiculous than that? Years ago, they had a project in San Francisco. It was a grandiose project over the hill in the Visitation Valley, kind of near the old Candlestick Park, but not that near, but closer than the rest of the city. It was a couple skyscrapers, supposed to be luxury housing. And I used to drive somebody over there because she had a housekeeper that lived there. And she told me the story. Yes, it was supposed to be luxury condos. They were supposed to set aside some for low-income housing. They didn't, and the city managed to get the whole project. It became a public housing project because the developer, as usual, did not live up to their word. Now, I know Downey is Mario Trujillo's monopoly board, and some of this stuff talking about affordable housing is maybe beneath him because, you know, or if a mayor drives a red Lexus and does real estate law, it's beneath you.
First warning.
Okay, so an inclusionary housing ordinance. Well, you should have already had one since the 90s. So it's very troubling again. You should have already done a lot more for affordable inclusionary housing. You should have actually listened, for example, 2 years back, 3 years now, when families were coming here to talk about the lack of inclusionary affordable housing in Downey. You just kind of laughed at them. You literally laughed. Pacheco laughed. Frometa laughed. So in the same way, I think you're laughing at this here because you're saying, oh, it's inclusionary housing ordinance. But I'm sure that there's some corruption going on behind the scenes. You know, we got...
Topic.
We have a... Okay, I am on topic.
No,
So
it's not
you
about
can
corruption, it's about an ordinance.
So we have a consultant here who presented this, and it's like, well, how many times did you people meet with her? How many lunches? Who paid for the lunches? It was probably them.
Second warning, you're off topic.
I didn't get a first warning. No.
Yes, you did.
So it's very important to actually, yeah, I mean, see, what really just gets to me is that you're claiming, so, I mean, some people don't think that we need it. Okay, I get that perspective, but you're claiming that not only do we need it, you're claiming that you're legitimately for affordable housing and inclusionary housing, and that's just not true. So you're lying about what you believe. What you actually believe in is making the city entirely unaffordable for people looking to buy a house, looking to rent. You basically want to drive everyone out of here. You can tell that just based on, who's donating to your campaign. You don't care about inclusionary housing. All you want is more and more power. Hence, you're taking all that developer money and all the consultant money.
Topic.
And that's just so.
That's your final warning.
So I never got a first warning.
Yes, you
So
did.
this is an exclusionary housing ordinance. We need to be more inclusive in Downey. Why is it that we don't include, like, for example, why is it that this public hearing didn't receive wide inclusionary advertisement? Why is that? Like, where did we see? Was it on Instagram? No, it wasn't even there. Did you post up anywhere? Did you go to the Third Street Cafe and post up about the public hearing about the inclusionary housing? No, you didn't, because you obviously didn't want the public to be here and comment, and then you switched it up in the order. So you don't truly care about affordable housing or inclusionary housing, and we know the truth.
Thank you.
So
Let's go ahead and take a minute break.
Thank you.
Mr. Green, stop. Stop. There is no disruption here, please.
Is it on? Okay, let's reconvene the city council meeting. Mr. Martinez?
The first question will begin with your consultant that made this presentation. Are they associated with OMLO because they're located in the same building?
First warning, off topic.
That question is in record now. Moving on, developers always like to build some stuff. They have a percentage for how much housing they actually want to give to people who are low income. This is the way that cities and developers get around actually doing any actual work for the community, because investors don't really want to invest so much, so they have to regulate how much is affordable or how much is allocated for a particular group, which mainly right here we're talking about low income. So one thing that keeps being brought up is that this should have been intact for decades. And every year the city has waived that in the interest of big realty and in the interest of landlords here who are just want to continue to increase their property values. So I don't expect us to meet the actual RENA numbers. I feel you're all gonna take shortcuts and get by with a bare minimum, take fines on behalf of the city. You're not doing enough. And I hope you do more. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion, a second, to close public hearing.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
So ordered by the mayor. Are there any further comments from my council colleagues? Are there any further comments?
No further comments. I just wanted to ask Kathy. No, it's neither here or there whether it's been done 20 years ago or now. The fact of the matter is, the city of Downey is moving forward with this inclusionary housing ordinance. But Kathy, I think you have some better background in information for our residents who are watching us via YouTube as
Sure.
to why now.
Yeah, sure. And inclusionary housing has been around for decades, but it hasn't become a bigger thing until the last 20 years, for sure. And as I said, in the last year, I've done 12. And so, because of housing amounts, et cetera, and unmet need. So it is a tool. It's a tool that's been around, but there was no obligation to do it. And there still is no obligation to do it.
There's no obligation, but however, cities, under the state mandate, we're looking at tools.
Correct.
To be able to meet.
And it's one of many. That's just something to keep in mind. But yes, as the RENA requirements have become stricter and stricter, inclusionary has become more and more popular as a tool.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Madam Mayor, I have no additional comments. I would like to proceed and make a motion to adopt.
And
This
is
would be
there
a
second?
motion to introduce.
Sorry. So there's a
The
motion
ordinance.
to introduce the ordinance.
Introduce the ordinance? Yes, I make a motion
And
for
the
that.
second,
And I'll second that.
okay. City Clerk Duarte, can we take a vote?
The motion to introduce the ordinance is approved with Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez absent.
Thank you. And thank you to my council colleagues for being involved in this subcommittee. I know it was probably a lengthy process, so thank you both for your time.
Thank you to the staff and
To the
Kathy.
staff and Kathy. Now is the time for consent calendar items. Are there any council members that would like to remove or abstain from an item?
I would like to pull item number 9 and number 11, please.
Okay. Anything else? No? Is there a
Mayor?
motion and a second to approve the
Mayor,
remainder?
before you take a motion, I would like to pull the meeting minutes for the special meeting of March 29. Our council member Trujillo was not at the meeting, so we don't have 3 votes to approve that item or that set of minutes. And we'll bring it back to a future meeting.
Okay. Is there a motion, a second, to approve the remainder of the consent calendars with the removal of the March 29th, 2022 minutes and those items removed by Councilmember Frometta?
That
So
would be
moved.
9 and 11.
9 and
9 and 11, yes.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Can we take a vote?
Yes. Give me a second. Should start. Councilmember Frometta? Are you ready?
Yes, if you can please give me a moment. I'm trying to find that item here on my packet.
Would you like to cast your vote for the remainder of the consent calendar?
Yes. My apologies, yes. Let me go back. There we go.
The consent calendar is approved with Councilmember Frometta pulling items 9 and 11, and Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez absent, and the minutes of the special meeting March 29, 2022 being removed.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Frometta, you pulled item number 9?
Yes, I wanted to just discuss this one a little bit more. I think it's important for our community to know exactly what this memorandum of understanding means. This is a project that is very close to my heart. I resurrected this particular project during my mayoral year last year, and that was getting a hold of the Vaultee building, the Kaufman wing, and the redevelopment of this site. And again, we've discussed it as a legacy project. I think it's important for us to continue to push it forward. We realize that there's going to be tremendous change and movement within our city leadership, with our city manager departing as of July 1st, and certainly Aldo, our community development director, and deputy city manager also departing next week. And again, I just wanted us again to have an opportunity to discuss this item, and I would like Aldo and or our city manager to talk a little bit about what this MOU means and where we are with this project, because I think it's important in connection with the development of that particular spot, and also the connection with the expansion of the Columbia Memorial Space Center and what that means for our community as we discuss the incubator, a conference center in the future, a Downey Museum of Art, and all of these things that are so positive for our community. But again, these are huge projects. And as we've discussed, these projects take years. And so some of us may or may not be on council when these projects come to fruition. But this being a legacy project, and again, considering the changes that are happening within our city hall, I want us to, and I want the residents that are watching us via Zoom and YouTube to really understand what is happening behind the scenes with this project.
And just to add on, I think we've been discussing an incubator since, I think, before you got on council. So I know this is something that we've been discussing
No,
for
I understand. Yes.
years.
Yes,
So you're
yes,
right.
yes.
It does take a long time for
Absolutely.
something to become to.
Absolutely. This is a project that has been discussed for a long time. And again, I had the pleasure of resurrecting last year during my mayoral year. So thank you. Mr.
I'm
Olivas?
happy, Madam Mayor, if I'm,
Yes.
I'm happy to provide a little bit of background in this particular item, and maybe Aldo and I can tag team on this particular item. So here's the sort of brief history on this. That particular parcel was the last parcel that needed to be developed as part of the Promenade development site that we worked on, 6-7 years ago now. And the last portion was the Kaufman Wing, which faces Lakewood Boulevard. It's a historical piece. It's where all the engineers used to work. It's the original Vaultee site. So it sat there vacant for some time. the developer that had purchased the site couldn't get it off the ground. And the main reason that they couldn't get it off the ground is that the cost to rehab that historical building were significant, that it didn't pencil out for them in terms of being able to make the investment and then to get a lease return on that particular parcel. So I approached the owners of that particular property and asked them to donate the land to the city, and by which they would get a tax write-off and we would assume the property. So some would say, well, why would we want this sort of white elephant here? Well, the reason that we would want it is because we have the ability to go after tax credits that the developer or the property owner would not be able to go after. For example, historical tax credits, new market tax credits that would be able to be invested in the property in order for us to convert that site into, first of all, not only preserve the historical nature of the property, but also to add things like a STEM incubator, right? Something that we've been working on. The mayor has alluded to that as well, and working with the Columbia Memorial Space Center, and given the fact that we have a medical overlay zone, to leverage those particular hospitals that we have on site to give community that is historically underrepresented in those particular STEM fields an opportunity to go ahead and learn something to get them into those career paths. So that's one thing that we ended up doing. Then ironically, the school district also came forward and said, hey, we'd like to partner up with you as we do this. There are a number of things that they want to be able to do as well. And that's a great idea, because what it does is allow us to then be more competitive on the historical tax credit applications and grants and things of that nature in order for that building to come to reality. We also looked at a site, and it's big enough to house multiple uses, for example, a incubator, a conference center, and potentially Downey Museum of Art facility as well. So all those things are possible in this. What the MOU does is a memorandum of understanding that basically sets the parameters in terms of the discussion and negotiations between the city and the developer in terms of how we assume the property, things like, parking and, preliminary pre-development investigation in the site. Those are the things. So what it does is give you a framework for you to start negotiating a development agreement moving forward for us to then assume the property and get it parcelized and take it over and then be off to the races. So it is a long process, and quite frankly, it's also a long process because we're asking somebody for the property, right? And so they're not always that quick to give you something. They want to go ahead and make sure that it's in their financial interest, right, to be able to give it to you as well. So we're here, and it's been a long time coming, and we've come to this negotiation point, but it's a huge milestone, and it gets an historical piece back in use. So that's essentially where it's at. I don't know, Aldo, if you want to add anything else to that.
Thank you, City Manager. The only thing I'd like to add is the timing. So the MOU is for a 6-month term with 1 6-month extension. So the goal is to have this wrapped up within the next 4 to 6 months. And by wrapped up means agree on a transaction agreement similar to a purchase and sale agreement that you've seen before you in the past. And so staff is going to start working immediately with the property owner to re-engage them if the council approves this item tonight. And by immediate, I mean within the next couple days, schedule meetings and hold regular meetings with them to keep everybody on task.
Thank you, Aldo. I think we're all excited to move forward in this project and make it happen. So I don't have any other
I remember me having conversations with the property management in 2020 and having, because this has been a long time coming. So that's why I say it wasn't just last year, it was 2020. I mean, conversations were being held for a very long time. So it's nice to see that this is going to come to fruition, hopefully in the near future, because things do take a while. So thank you very much to staff for all the hard work, because I know it's because of you that we're able to do this. So is there a motion and a second?
I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, can we please take a vote?
The motion is approved with Mayor Pro Tem Albert is absent.
Thank you. And then item number 11?
Yes, item number 11, Madam Mayor, my council colleague, and those of you watching via Zoom and YouTube, is it came to my attention, the appointment, I don't know Mr. Barrios, but it did come to my attention. He is employed by the porn industry, it looks like by Hustler. And I think from a perspective of being a character count city, we really want to think about the appointments that we vote on for the various commissions. Certainly, our city has...
Mr. Martinez.
If he's not going to be removed for continuing disruptions...
We have already given him, this is like his third warning. This is your third warning.
Can we please, City Manager Livas, can we please have Mr. Martinez removed?
Madam Mayor, certainly. Our Sergeant at Arms, can you please have Mr. Martinez removed? Yeah.
Thank you,
Yes,
City
he
Manager.
did. I've got him right here. Thank you.
I apologize.
Let's take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break.
Recess?
Please don't shoot him.
We will now reconvene the council meeting. I apologize. Councilwoman Fermetta?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For those of you watching via YouTube, there was an individual that needed to be removed for being disruptive. As I was saying regarding item number 11, we recently, and when I say recently, within the last 2 years, found ourselves in a position to have to establish codes of conduct for every commissioner serving in every committee, as well as for all of us on council. And I think we agreed collectively the importance of having the certain parameters and certain codes of conduct. Again, as I've indicated, I don't know the individual being appointed. What I do know and what has been verified is his employment. And I have some concerns regarding that. And I have concerns, there's been so much that has been discussed regarding the restaurant that is coming into town. And I don't approve, I don't believe it is in our city's best interest to appoint someone that is employed by the porn industry to the Planning Commission for the City of Downey. I think we have weathered enough scandal in our city with Mayor Pro Tem, with the record that she currently has, and being under a recall attempt again, that we don't need to yet vote an individual employed by this organization at this point in time. And again, that is how where I stand on this issue, and I wanted to bring this item up for discussion. I don't typically do this. I think we've vetted and we have appointed individuals that are good citizens and good representatives for our community. And as I said, I don't know Mr. Barrios. I'm sure he's a good man, but unfortunately his employment is an issue.
Do we know what he does at the organization? Is there any evidence of what he does? Like, is he an attorney? What does he? Do we know any evidence? I don't know if staff, or anybody knows. Because I don't know this individual either. I was just curious. Is there any other comments? Okay. Well,
I wanted to let the council know that this is a resolution and pursuant to your city charter. Resolutions must be approved by the affirmative vote of the majority of the total membership of the council. That means 3 votes.
okay. So this appointment will fail. Okay.
If you want to go ahead and take a motion.
Does anybody want to take a motion to approve?
To approve the resolution and take a vote so that it officially,
Yes, I would like to
record, then that's
make
fine.
a,
I'm sorry.
Trujillo.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Fermetta. I was just wondering if perhaps we should consider tabling it. I mean, I don't know what this man does. I heard Councilwoman Fermetta say it's been verified that he works for Hustler. I mean, is that true?
Yes,
Did the
yes.
city verify it?
It is on his LinkedIn profile, and there's various members of the community that have verified of his employment with this organization. I don't think that needs to be verified. I think as a council body, we have an obligation to our citizens to do what is right. And I don't need to table this item to reconsider an appointment of someone that, again, based on his employment, I don't believe is fits to serve on the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
So I will move to make a motion.
Make a
That would be a motion not to
approve.
Not to make the appointment of Sean Barrios.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a second. And this is to approve, not to appoint.
To approve, not
Yeah.
to appoint.
Okay.
That's correct.
Just making sure.
And that's there's no resolution on that, so that's a majority of the quorum vote. Okay?
So I'm voting. Are we voting now? I'm voting affirmative, not to appoint.
The motion is approved with Councilmember Trujillo abstaining from the vote and Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez absent.
So majority of the quorum is 2, so the motion passes, right? Not to appoint.
Correct.
Okay.
And the next item we have is an administrative report. There is one administrative report this evening requiring fingerprint background checks of candidates applying to fill vacancy for City Council seat District 2. This item was requested by Councilmember Fermetta. Councilmember Fermetta, you may proceed with your comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to bring this to the attention of the council, of our city, and certainly our residents. Over the past several months, we have found ourselves in difficult situations as a city, and many residents have expressed their discontent towards us for, in their mind, this city not doing its due diligence to verify individuals' backgrounds as it pertains to criminal backgrounds. And I asked our city attorney to please look at what other cities have done and also to get a other council recommendation or advice regarding this matter. And I think it's important for our residents to know that we, under the law, cities do not conduct background checks of elected officials. That is, again, California Elections Code, Section 20. However, we must do our due diligence when we look at filling in vacancies of potential individuals, because these individuals are not elected, they would be appointed. But before I further continue with my comments and the reasoning behind this, I want the community of Downey to understand that Downey has found itself in a very, very difficult position over the last several months. And we want to, or at least my intent is to
ensure that our city is protected in some way, shape, or form from unscrupulous individuals, perhaps. And I want to ask our city attorney to elaborate a little bit more on what she found and what the additional council response was regarding this request.
So to start out, just as a matter of background, cities are able to access the state attorney general's criminal history information, but under statute, cities can only access that information just for certain purposes, and those are purposes that are very narrowly drawn. And those are purposes that involve employment, certifications, and licensing. So for example, attorneys, when we pass the bar, we have to go through a background check to get our license to practice law in the state of California. And so the state bar is allowed to use the fingerprinting mechanism to gain our criminal history through the Attorney General's office for licensing purposes. That also happens with therapists, for example, who have to go through a licensing procedure process. And in the city of Downey, like many cities, when we hire public employees, we also put them through a background check as well, because we can use that fingerprinting process to gain information about employees before we hire them to determine whether they have a criminal background or not. However, because those are the three categories that we are allowed to tap into the Attorney General database on criminal history, we are not able to use the fingerprinting information that we get from the Attorney General for candidates or election purposes. So we are not able to put candidates, even
Do we need to have him removed from the building?
I think we need to have a police officer out there to have him stop yelling.
City Manager Livas, can we please have an officer outside to, because
Chief?
Mr. Martinez is being disruptive. Force of habit, I'm sorry.
Mr. Herman, relax. Mr.
Warning.
Herman, sit down. Sit down. First warning.
Second warning. Third warning.
Third warning.
Okay, City Manager Livas, can we please have Mr. Herman
you call
escorted
my
out?
fucking name
Yeah,
out in a
yeah.
meeting because you're so fucking stupid, and then you make
Can we
fun
get
of me.
in?
You're fucking
She
stupid.
corrected
You're
herself.
fucking stupid. No, you're fucking stupid. You target
No.
me. You target me every motherfucking time. Stop it.
Mr.
Stop
Herman.
Police
it.
officers,
You're
please.
a fucking racist. You're a fucking wetback, a racist. Always targeting me. I was sitting here and you call my fucking name up. You call my fucking name. You started this shit. Fuck you. 42 USC 1980, you fucking bitch. I'm leaving, you fucking cunt. But stop fucking targeting me, you fucking bitch. All you fucking bitches. Pick on the vulnerable people in society up. You fucking asshole. Fucking bitch.
After the performance, we'll continue forward. Okay.
So as I was mentioning, there's only those three categories where we can fingerprint individuals and obtain their criminal background history through the Attorney General. That's for employment, certification, and licensing. So we're not able to use that mechanism to do background checks for candidates or even applicants for an appointment to fill a vacancy on the council. So where does that leave us? So that leaves us at a point where I've had to do a little bit more of creative problem solving here to see how far we can go to accomplish what your objective is. So I think there's some in the back of the room. There's a sample declaration that we could ask the candidates or the applicants who have applied for filling the vacancy to fill out before the interview process, which is on April 27th. So it's a very simple, we've listed here all of the code sections that would disqualify somebody from holding office. And we've asked individuals who are applying for the position to just attest under penalty of perjury that they have not been convicted of any of these violations. And then they would submit it back to us. Because we're under time constraints, I think doing any more than that would make us run up against the 60-day deadline to make the appointment. It would require us to probably push out some of the meeting dates we've already scheduled. So if you're okay with this, we can, City Clerk will give a week to the applicants to sign this and return it to the City Clerk. That would give us plenty of time before the interview process to get these all back. And then you can conduct your interviews on the 27th.
Yvette, can you, for the record, can you provide us what other city currently uses something similar?
Of like this form, similar, or just does?
In general.
I don't,
Like this
City
one?
Clerk did the surveys of the cities, so I'll let her respond to what she found. I don't think there was much that she found in terms of this sort of thing.
I think there was something from South Pasadena.
In South Pasadena, I took a sample of their application to fill a vacancy on the council. And in that application, there was a question that said, have you ever been convicted of any of the violations in Election Code 20? And that was included in the application for this vacancy. So that was also in there.
There is another city that, not necessarily this form per se, but that have asked, something similar that included in their process.
Yes.
Because I think the whole reason we're having this conversation and the whole reason I put this on the agenda was because of the residents asking the city council to do something about it. So you've just, answered thoroughly that as councils and cities, we cannot fingerprint applicants and elected officials. That's not what we do, But this as a form of having our potential vacancy filled now and or in the future, this can also serve as a reminder to individuals to declare and disclose any background that they may have.
Would this be only, I'm sorry,
No,
would
no,
this be
that's okay.
only felonies, or is it, I haven't looked up the penal code sections. Are these only felonies that are listed
Yes.
here? No
Yes.
misdemeanors?
No.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments? I will now entertain a motion.
So, yeah, I would
Possibly
just-
to accept the declaration of city council applicant?
Yes. To require the applicants who have submitted applications to fill the vacancy to fill out this form and return it to the city clerk within a week.
Okay, and now, and this is, again, this, what I would also like to add, and maybe it can be added as an addition, is to include this, for now and future potential vacancies, as well as individuals applying.
So would the motion be to require the candidates desiring to fill the vacancy for District 2 to fill out this declaration of city council applicant verifying no prior disqualification convictions, and to also require it for those candidates intending to run for city council in the future?
Right. Well, and
That's
considering.
a long motion.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yes.
Sure.
Well, because it is knowing that we are in the midterms and several seats may be up. I think it's important, at least our residents, they can know we are doing everything in our power and what we can to at least put something forth, if there wasn't anything before. So I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, please vote.
The motion is approved with Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez absent.
City Manager Rivas, do you have any comments?
Just one comment. I did pass out to you the latest goals for the council goals and priorities. So that'll give you where we're at today, and we'll continue to monitor those and make sure that we stay on top of the progress. So I just wanted to let you know that I've distributed those to you, and so you have them as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for joining us this evening. We will now adjourn the council meeting in memory of Madeleine Albright, first female U.S. Secretary of State, the lives lost in the Sacramento shooting, the victims of the Ukraine crisis, and the lives lost due to COVID-19. A moment of silence. Meeting adjourned.